All right, all right, all right. Chat, let me know if you can hear me. Chat, let me know if you can hear me and how well you can hear me. Press one if you can hear me, and on a scale of 1 to 10, give me a 10 if I am brilliantly coming through, and if I'm absolutely garbage, you can put a zero. Okay, ones are coming through. People can hear me. This is good. This is good. It's a good start. Sorry for the lateness. Thank you, Science and Inspiration. Good to see my Medjay Archers in there. Okay, Seminole Trey says 10. He can hear me loud and clear. This is good. This is how we want it. Respect, Knuckles. Respect to you. Says he can hear me loud and clear. 10. Okay, this is very, very good. All right, man. Okay. Let's see if some more people come in. I'll just shoot the proverbial crap with you guys whilst other people get in. Um, uh, I'm in a state of um, I think I've been through all the emotions so far. So I'm at the place of, what is it? The five stages of, is it grief? But this isn't grief, but five stages of something anyway. Um, I've come to the realization that a couple of things I've come to realize. One, um, some people don't know history as well as they claim they do, and others, some people even others do know, others do know history as well as they claim they do, and are just dishonest. It's either one of the two. So um, there's no in betweens there. You either know what you're talking about, or you either know what you're talking about, or you don't, and you're pretending to. If you know what you're talking about, you are also feeding the public a load of mistruths and misinformations, either by omission or deliberately. So, who am I talking about? I'm talking about the loudest voices when it comes to this thing called Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. So, just to run it back, I went to see this movie that everyone's been talking about, and I went how long ago now? So I went the day before yesterday, which would be Tuesday. So because you kind of have to, all right. And I tell you what, my first thoughts on the film. Let's just get that out of the way. Um, I liked it. I liked it. On the whole, I liked it. Um, were there elements that were wanting? Definitely. Many elements were wanting in the film. Having said that, on the whole, it was a positive experience. On the whole, it was a positive experience. Um, Casting choice is why we're here, so we'll get to that later. But this film for me was something that Nolan does this best. He aura farms. That's really what this film is. It's a massive aura farming. There's not in the way of substance. Um, uh, there's some stuff. There's some stuff, but where it starts to go into that, it gets pretentious. So I would rather Nolan. What I'm trying to say is, I would rather Nolan do what he does best, which is tell grandiose stories without much. I mean, he does preach. If you've seen The Dark Knight, it's a very preachy. It's quite preachy, but it's quite subtly done. It's well done. Okay, here towards the end of this film, it gets a bit it gets a bit ham fisted. It's whacking you over the head kind of a thing. Hammy. is the word I'm looking for. But on the whole, I mean, the atmosphere was there. The people make a lot about the. I tell you what. Let me say this now. 100% all the issues that people have been talking about, the issues that people have been raising about this film outside of Lupita, they have nothing to do. They're not genuine. They're not genuine because you go back to period dramas of this sort, period pieces of this sort, and I'm not lying. There's never this much hoopla about the costume. Oh, there needs to be more Greeks in it. We watched Troy in 2000 and whenever that came out with Brad Pitt. Was Brad Pitt, wasn't it? Yeah. I always get him mixed up with Leonardo DiCaprio. We watched Troy with Brad Pitt and whoever else was in it. Okay. None of these guys were Greek, to my knowledge, anyway. None of these guys had any Greek ancestry. There was not. There, chat. Let me know if there was any controversy about Brad Pitt not being Greek or who else was in it? The guy who plays Odysseus, Sean Bean, an Irishman. Judging by that name. But Irish roots. So there was none of that. So you have to ask yourself, why now? Why now? A lot of the conversation surrounding this film is distracted from the film, and it's not even about what people are saying it's about. It's about race. And quite sadly, I've come to realize since doing this, and it's been it's been a great pain to me because I want to believe I know better. I know better because I know human beings are, from experience, they're scumbags. We are a scummy race of people, of creatures. We are just nasty. Okay. But I always want to believe that people can be better. So when I'm watching this film and when I'm watching the controversy around it, something has become clear to me, especially okay, they took me off. I don't know why they took me off. Press one if you can hear me. Press one if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I don't really want to be seen tonight, but there you go. I'll go off camera. Right. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. Right, where was I? Um, one chat. Thank you, Macy Graham. Right, I can see one. Let me carry on. One of the Okay. Yeah, something weird is happening. I've not had any internet. I've not had any. It's been a long, long, long time. Let's just say it's been a while since I had internet problems. It's been a long time. So if this persists, we'll keep an eye on it. If it persists, I might have to rendezvous with you guys. This is this is unbelievable. Okay. I'm gonna carry on. All right, let's move on. So we're looking at the thumbnail I used for this live to as a just to kind of anchor this conversation on is an image that was provided to me by someone who's very close to me now. I consider him a dear friend, even though I never met him. But the debunker um provided this image to me, and it is let me see if I can present it on screen. Well, you guys can see it. Okay, that's the thumbnail. That's what the thumbnail is based on. This is a fresco. It's a painting from the ruins of Pompeii, and I think it dates to the first century thereabouts, or not long. It's either the first century or earlier, AD. Okay, now this is I think presently resides in the at the museum in Naples, and what you have the figure that I've blown up, that has been whose face has been zoomed in on is Odysseus. I want to just ask chat one question. Look at the man. Look at how Odysseus is portrayed. Look at how his companion next to him, Diomedes, or it could be Diomedes, it could be Eurybates. Eurybates. I don't know how you would say that name. Look at how both of them are portrayed, but particularly pay attention to um, Odysseus, who is the individual carrying the Palladion. Okay, this is some kind of effigy, some kind of idol that is worshipped in Troy. That is supposed to be the reason why the city stands. This is this is a this is their main idol, right? And this is like I said in the post earlier today, I've not finished the Odyssey. I'm reading it for the first time. So some things I'm just going on intelligent guesses here. But I'm assuming this is recorded in the Odyssey and this isn't just fan fiction. But look how Odysseus is portrayed. Now, my question is simple, chat. If an actor um m- in the likeness of this image, okay, in the likeness of this image is casted or was to have been casted as Odysseus in Nolan's Odyssey. Chat, I want this to be interactive. What do you think? What do we think the reaction would have been? Okay, people are going absolutely mental because Lupita Nyong'o was got the part of Helen of Troy. Look at the image. This isn't to say this is how Homer, if he existed, envisaged Odysseus. We can get to that another day. It's not to say that. This is how first century or thereabouts ancient Hellenistic Roman people viewed Odysseus or or conceived of him when they came to drawing and painting him. Now imagine, and they have good reason to do this because there's textual evidence to support this portrayal of Odysseus. Okay, there's textual evidence to support this, down to his hair that you can see there. Okay, so this is how the Romans, this is how Hellenistic people, okay, or Hellenistic influenced people are portraying Odysseus in the first century. What happens in 2026 in the atmosphere and the climate that we have, okay, right now? If Christopher Nolan says, you know what, I've seen enough images, I've seen a panoply of images from, you know, from the ancient era, from the classical era, okay, and I think this individual, I don't know, pick somebody. Chat, help me out here. A light skinned to brownish African American individual. Um I don't know. No names come to my mind right now. And Christopher Nolan gives that individual, based on images like this, gives that individual the role of Odysseus. What do we think would have happened? Do we think the response would have been? Chat, please help me out. We're growing. We're growing. That's 40 in the chat. I can see right now. Please hit the like. Someone said Will Smith. Thank you. Thank you. Bayu um Bayo. Is that a Nigerian name? Bayo Uzodu? I don't know. Or it could be Bayu. Bayu Zodu. Bayu Zodu. Help me out with that name. Did I get it right the first time? Is it Bayo? Anyway, Bayo5564 says Will Smith. Yeah, yeah. Give Will Smith a nice puffy wig, okay? Because I don't think his hair can achieve this volume right now naturally anymore. He's in that you know um is in that stage of his life. But okay, Will Smith. Thank you, Bio. I got it right the first time. Brilliant. Alfarius Knox, thank you. One of our newest members. Thank you so much, Alfarius, for joining us. He says, I think even if they used The Rock, okay, they would complain. Exactly. Exactly. Because if you cast your mind back to the woman that they used for this Netflix debacle about Cleopatra, she was a mixed race woman. She was a mixed race actress. And in fact, if you held her up, if I did a post, say Instagram, say someone with a bigger channel made a post around the ancient Egyptians and used her image, okay, um, and used her image amongst some other modern day, modern uh, Caucasoid presenting Egyptians, okay? People, someone like me could, would say, look, oh, that's good. Shout out to you for using a sort of black adjacent person. And one of the first comments that would come back to someone like myself making a comment like that, one of the first responses would be, especially from these Arab types, they'd say, "Oh well, what do you mean? She's not black. We have all sorts of colors. Don't." They'd assume they always do this thing where they think they're talking to an African American or a Black American. Don't racialize us. We're not like you guys in America. We don't have the same problems as you. This woman is an Egyptian. We have all types of Egyptians. Okay, so what happened when Netflix put her as the face of Cleopatra? What happened? What did you get? You got outrage, complete meltdown. We are dealing with some of the and let me finish that sentence. We're dealing with some of the sickest people when we're talking about this modern era that we're living in. But when we're talking about race, when we're talking about controversies like this, some of the sickest people come out of the woodwork when it surrounds when we're talking about black history and uh black affected history that we influenced. Some of the sickest people come out of the woodwork. And you know why? It's not even that, it's not even their fault. They've been emboldened. We've been fed a lie for the longest now that we are in a progressive era, that we are this time period that we're in, racism is gone. Anyone that talks about racism is just, barking up the wrong tree. They're just milking things that are. Bear in mind, I'm living in a country where 20 years ago, 20 years, what would that take us? 20 years ago, that's 19, okay, fine, 2006. 30 years ago, 3 decades ago, okay? I'm well and truly alive 30 years ago. Okay, this is well and truly my lifetime. People were being stabbed at football stadiums here in the UK for being black. People were being banana skins were being thrown at people. Okay, you couldn't go to a football match in certain parts of this country here. This is in the 90s, guys. You couldn't go to certain football games in this country, okay, and feel safe. You couldn't play as a black footballer in parts of this country, all over this country, and feel safe. You still had to deal with bananas being hurled at you, monkey chants, the N word being used, thrown at you. This is in the UK, okay? This is in the UK. Where have all those people gone? They've just disappeared? No, they've got Twitter handles. They got you. Listen. Some of them go to church. I will tell you that now. Some of them go to church. I bring that up because I'm a Christian, and I regularly make talk about that on this channel. I regularly talk about that because a lot of people in this space, a lot of us think you can't do the two. You can't be a believer in Christianity and do this stuff. It has to be um worshiping the ancestors or whatever. Okay, but I go to church, and you'll be surprised at some of the things people have fixed their mouths to say, out of ignorance for the most time. Out of ignorance for the most time, but defensive ignorance. Because if you start to challenge some of that ignorance, what people, even churchgoers, white Christian churchgoers, some of the things that they will fix their mouths to say in response will shock you. It will shock you because they then get defensive over their ignorance. It's not good enough to disabuse them of their ignorance and educate them. Now they get defensive. They think, well, that's not what I've been told by, the white is right cabal. That's not what I've been told. Well, there's a reason why you've been told a certain thing by the white is right cabal. Egyptology, the classics, these things were handed down by people in a time period that deliberately carved out black people, deliberately pretended, and I'll use the word now, whitewashed history. A lot of the disciplines that form the basis, okay, of what's making movies now, what we're watching, a lot of that stuff, the academic disciplines that forms the research that people like Nolan will go to, was made and done by racists, people who cringed and just wriggled every time they saw black people in spaces that they thought they shouldn't be. Mind you, and we'll do it tonight, ancient Egypt, Nubia, Ethiopia, these places existed long before there was anything going on in places that are dominating the world today: Germany, France, Spain, Britain. These civilizations existed. So when these people come and they see references to the mighty Ethiopians, the Egyptians, giving and transmitting their knowledge and their literature and their to the Greeks. Mind you, they're not Greeks. The Greeks are in a very different, half of what we know as Greek civilization is in Muslim Turkey today. Think about that. Half of the places that we call ancient Greece today is in a part of the world where if you come from there, okay, into a place like the UK or France, you still get treated a certain way. So these people aren't even Matt Damon shouldn't be cast as Odysseus. You go and read the descriptions of Odysseus. Okay, he should not be casted as Odysseus. Forget Greek. The Greeks of today, even they don't look anything. Half of them don't look anything like the Greeks. A lot of I've had Greeks tell me most of the people claiming Greek heritage today, they're Albanian. They're actually not from, and Albania means white. Albania, you get some of the whitest people. Okay, so make it make sense. Make the outrage make sense. You are dealing with people who don't know their history, and if you try to tell them, actually, your history, this isn't your history for one, and the history of the people that you're claiming to defend is intertwined, intermingled, in fact, created by black people, black and brown people, seeded by black and brown people. If you try to tell them that, they have a visceral reaction. They will not care. We're not talking about some hotep talking, screaming at the top of his lungs on on YouTube or whatever, on TikTok. We're talking about showing facts and evidence, sources, textual material. They have a visceral reaction. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's where this conversation, that's really how we need to couch this conversation. Okay, we need to couch it in the fact that we're starting from the very beginning. If you come here thinking you know stuff, okay, thinking Lupita Nyong'o could never have been. The Greeks could never have envisaged the black woman playing that, and none of what this guy can say or bring to the table will convince me. Then, do yourself a favor and just shuffle off. Carry on. Keep calm and carry on. Just keep going. Okay. If you come here open-minded, you will be blown away. You'll be blown away. What's happened to us, and it's happened to black people too, our history's been humanity's history. This isn't a black history, white history thing. Humanity's history humanity's been robbed of its history, its culture, its myth, its story, its origin story, because of a deeply, deeply sick and twisted small group of people, men. Small group of, sorry to say, Caucasian men who had a visceral reaction, a visceral fear of black people. All right, let's get into this. Chat, if I'm cooking, let me know. Press 1 if I'm cooking. Press 1 if I'm making sense. I wanted to make this short, and I can easily make this short. I made a video not long ago, and it was about the ethnicity of Homer. Okay. Homer's biography. Let me present the screen to you. Let me show you. If you just let me take you through. Thank you, Macy Graham. Thank you, Bio. Let me take you through some of what. If you just wanted to do sort of a, Reader's Digest. Let me just dabble a little, a dilettantish dabbling into this controversy. Let's start with the man who wrote the Odyssey. What if I told you that the man who wrote the Odyssey, I checked the video out, all the sources are in there. But let me break it down here on this slide. Let's start here. What if I told a lot of these grifters, not that Homer was black, okay? Not specifically that Homer was black, guys. Hear me carefully now, because some troll is going to come into this and pretend they didn't hear this bit. Not that Homer was black, but that it did not bother the Greeks and the Romans that he could have been black. So much so that they postulated themselves that he was from Africa, specifically Egypt, even more specifically Upper Egypt. Okay? Which is where you will get today, right on the frontier with Nubia, what was in ancient times known as Nubia. There are lots of people don't know this, but large swathes of southern Egypt were not part of Egypt originally. They were seen as quote unquote Nubia by the Romans. Large swathes of what is now Egypt actually belonged to the kingdoms of Kush further down. Okay, and this is the region on the frontier with this region, okay, where the blackest Egyptians, okay, you tended to have a scale, okay, the further north you went, but they were all black people. What's happened is these populations have been pushed further and further down as you get with invasions, multiple years, centuries, millennia of invasions, displacement. These populations have been pushed further down, okay, into Africa proper now, and it's still happening. But the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks conceived, in fact, they wrote it down, that they thought based on a number of factors, that Homer was an Egyptian, specifically an Upper Egyptian from Thebes. Okay, I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. Let me just um let me just make sure we're all here. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let me show you this. We're just gonna go through some of these there we go. Okay, I'm gonna present. Talk among yourselves. So I do this as I present this. Okay, right. There we go. Right. There we go. Let's do this. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Kieran Grant says, peace and blessings, brother True. Where can I get that background picture from? Um, Go to my latest post. I posted it. I posted it. Then do a Google image capture. Download it first. My voice is going. Download it first, and then put it into drag it into Google image capture and Google image search, and then you should be able to get it. Right. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you very much for that $5 super chat. Right. Let's crack a lack. No, 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 no. There we go. All right. Homo flourished. Um, this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, I wanted to miss out Wikipedia deliberately. It's from the Encyclopedia Britannica. It says Homer was the presumed author of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Let's go down. Let's skip. Implicit references to Homer. Implicit. Pay attention. Implicit references to Homer and quotations from the poems date to the middle of the 7th century BCE. I've looked as much of this up as I can. Okay, and you don't have to take my word for it. I'll present some evidence of what I'm about to show. What I'm about to say to you soon. Archilochus, Alcman, Tyrtaeus, and Calenus in the 7th century, and Sappho and others in the early 6th century adapted Homeric phraseology and meter to their own purposes and rhythms. Right. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica, guys. Um, let's have a look at this. References and edit history. This is the online okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, all right. Let's go back. Right. Implicit references to Homer and quotations from the poems date to the middle of the 7th century BC. The word is key there, implicit. Implicit. Let me show you one of them. We're talking when it says implicit there, guys, we're talking very tangential. Very, very tangential. Okay. They do not talk about Homer specifically where he's from. Everything that says Homer is from Chios, okay, to my knowledge and to my research, is very you're reading between the lines. Hear me good and hear me well. You're reading between the lines. Okay. Chief of which is this. Okay. When you go looking, you come across an Homeric ode. him to Apollo. Okay, we are not really told. Let me do a quick search. Homer. This is the text, guys. Right, chat. Let me know if you can see that. I do a quick Control F. Okay, you can't see. There's nothing in this text. Okay, where the writer says, "I am Homer." This is implied, yet this is one of the key. This is the source code for this idea that Homer was a blind man who comes from the island of Chios, which is off the coast of Turkey somewhere. Is in the Greek, is one of the Greek islands. Okay, right. This is the evidence. Let's look up Chios in this. He is a blind man. Okay, I'll just read you the whole verse. And now may Apollo be favorable on Artemis, and farewell all you maidens. Remember me after time, whenever any one of men on earth, a stranger who has seen and suffered much, comes here and asks of you, whom think ye, girls, is the sweetest singer that comes here? And in whom do you most delight? Then answer each and all with one voice. He is a blind man and dwells in rocky Chios or Chios. His lays are evermore supreme. As for me, I will carry your renown as far as I roam over the earth to the well placed. This thing is true, and I will never cease to praise far shooting Apollo, etc., etc. Note again, the author of this does not refer to himself as Homer. In fact, I don't think he refers to himself at all. That, okay, is, as the Encyclopedia Britannica Online says, the pseudo-Homeric hymn to Apollo of Delos, probably of late 7th century composition, claimed to be the work of a blind man who dwells in rugged Chios, a reference to a tradition about Homer himself. Okay? The idea that Homer has descendants known as Homeridae, and that they had taken over the preservation and propagation of this poetry. This is the next thing that they'll go to. They'll say that if that fails, they'll say, oh, well, he's obviously Greek, obviously white presenting or white adjacent, because he has descendants known as Homeridae. And this entry on the Encyclopedia Britannica Online says this tradition goes back to at least the early 6th century BCE. Okay, let's look into that. One sec. Let's look into that. I've got a few tabs up here. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm going to show you a few things tonight. I'm going to show you how if you're interested, I'll do my research. Okay. So go to the source, the cited sources. I looked on the Wikipedia entry for this. Okay, let's go and put that in there. So the Wikipedia has the same. So I looked up the Homeridae. Okay, when you look up the Homeridae, the cited place, the citation for the Homeridae says this. This is by a guy called vetted by David Whitehead. David Whitehead, who's he? This is an old entry online. This is like, it's not Wayback Machine. It's not quite there, but it's there, you know, kind of just in the sort of lesser traversed corners of the internet. You have to kind of make an odyssey to these places. Bum. Okay, so David Whitehead, School of History, Anthropology, Philosophy, and Politics professor. It's obviously him, born in blah, 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 Clare College, Cambridge. This is a guy who knows his stuff. First class honors, PhD in ancient history. So this is a guy who knows his stuff, guys, okay? This is his entry. This is what's vetted by him. This legend that Homer is from the Homeridae. or sorry, Homer gave birth to the Homeridae, who dwell or inhabit the island Chios. Okay, those who perform Homer's poems, translation, the Homeridae. Okay, those who perform Homer's poems. Others define the term as a family in Chios named after the poet. Okay, so that seems to point to Homer coming from Chios. Okay, remember what I said, tangential, very sort of very loose connections. But others say that this opinion is erroneous since they get their name from pledges, or the word for pledge, a pledge, Homera. For the women of Chios once went mad. Okay, I assume there's a source for this, but we'll trust a good professor. The women of Chios once went mad during the festival of Dionysus and fought a battle against their menfolk. They stopped only after they had exchanged as pledges bridegrooms and brides, whose descendants they call the Homeridae. Okay, children of the pledge. Okay, that tradition exists on that island as well. So, what seems to have happened is that there's a conflation as the lore of Homer, or whoever he was, if he was, grows, it gets conflated with this group on this island, the Homeridae, and we then have this. In any case, what I'm trying to show you tonight, good folk of the world, is that these are loose connections. These are loose connections. Chat, let me know if you can hear me, because I don't want my internet to. I don't know if my internet's dropped out. So, what's going on? No, don't pop out, chat. Move, man. Sorry, guys. Let me just There we go. There we go. That's better. Right. Right. So, thank you, Macy Graham. And I need people like you. Thank you so much, Macy. Right. Macy says 1. Good. Klassen says Alfarius Knox. So what I'm trying, thank you, Alfarius, says 1 as well. What I'm trying to show you is that this is all tangential, yet it's held up. It's the first thing you see when you go to Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay. However, there's more to the story, because let's do this. When you dig deeper than what they, just take it or leave it, take it because I'm white and I say so. When you dig deeper, this is what you get. Let's look here. Come on. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go back to that article. I don't want to share that, do I? Right. I don't want to share that because I'm trying here to build this up. I'm trying to build this up. Let's go. Okay. We go further down. Let's go down on this article from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's go to where it talks about Pindar. Right. Although Smyrna and Chios early began competing for the honor, the poet Pindar, early in the 5th century BCE, associated Homer with both. So, Pindar is another author that we are supposed to go to as a source for the fact that, the supposed facts that Homer is from Chios, okay, somewhere in the Greek islands. All right, what happens when we look into that? Let's do that. Let's look into that. Okay, let's go. No, I don't want to share that. Okay. Get off. Okay, chat. Let's move that out of the way. Let's go and look into Pindar. Here we go. Wouldn't you know it, guys? Wouldn't you know it? There's no There's a reason I've searched high and low. There's a reason this is very hard to find. Pindar's claim to fame, his main work is something called there's the Olympian Odes and there's the Pythian Odes. Okay, I don't know what either's really about. Um, um, I looked it up. I can't remember exactly what it's going on about now. But here we go. Let me share my screen again. I wish there was a key I could just press. I can't just press a key, which is really annoying. I mean, I've tried it before, but it doesn't really work for some reason. Let me share my screen again. Let me share my screen again. It's all a lie. Everything is a lie. These people are so jelly. They're so jealous. They're doing basically. If you want to summarize what I'm showing you here, is they will do the most, and they're still doing it. They will do the most to hide. It's not other people's histories so much as Black history. They have a visceral antipathy towards Black people having done anything of note, having gone anywhere of note, having influenced anything of note. They have a visceral reaction to it. I believe there is so much, okay, that is still being hidden, deliberately hidden from us. Okay, because let me just get into it. Let me just get into it. Stop talking. I'm talking too much here. Talking too much. There we go. All right. Okay, let's go. Let's go. All right. Share screen again. Where is it? There we go. All right. All right. This is I couldn't find the text. I couldn't actually find. I looked up the Pythian Odes. I looked up the Olympian Odes, and I couldn't get anything. But Pindar, so I think his work's fragmented. I'm willing to be corrected. So I'm an amateur historian. So if you've got the source, okay, um, n- then let me know. Okay, not point that will be 0.1% of people watching this. If there is a source that I don't know about, um, when it comes to the claim I'm about to make, that will be 0.1% that knows about this. Okay. And for the most part, even that individual, I don't like to mention his name. I call him Wormtongue. Chat, let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Type his name in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Wormtongue, Grimmel Wormtongue. Looking like Marilyn Manson. Um, Even that individual, he doesn't even pretend anymore to actually do any real history. He just sits in a chair like a disgusting oaf and he invects. He watches videos. Sometimes it gets as bad as watching videos of people watching videos. I'm not finished. I'm not done. He says that a lot. I'm not done. Watching videos of people watching videos of people watching videos. And then he says one or two things and then he calls it a rap and he thinks he's done a great. You know what? It works for him. It actually works for him. So kudos to him. But that's the filthy life. We don't do that around here. We actually do some real work. So if you have something that I don't know about, let me know. But this article by Edward Fitch, 1924, says in the second life of Homer, ascribed to Plutarch, okay, there is preserved the statement, okay, that Pindar called Homer both a Chian and a Smyrnian. These are Greek municipalities. These are ancient Greek municipalities. This is what Edward Fitch says. This sounds like a tradition, not fact. Some kind of tradition. So, two things you got to notice here. It doesn't look like we actually have the source text where we can say this Pindar claims, okay, blah 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 blah. No, it seems that people are referencing a missing text where Pindar incidentally says something about Homer being from Chios or Smyrna. This is important because people take this as facts then. And then they come in the comments and they say, this is rubbish. It's well known that Homer was from Ionia or the Greek Isles or the Greek this and that. No, no, no. This is where we're getting all of that. And it's Chinese whispers. We have something better than Chinese whispers much later on. Much later on. And that's where I'm going. Okay. This is Pindar, by the way. If you're looking on the screen, this is the Pythian Odes. This is Pindar who says the Colchians, which is in the Black Sea region, in a region off Turkey. We're talking. We can do better than that. Caucasus region. Let's go. Caucasus region. Caucasus region. It says in classical antiquity, we're talking about Georgia. Okay, excellent for a Georgian polity in the eastern coast of the Black Sea. So this is on the other side now of the Black Sea, on the opposite side of, I think, Turkey. I'm imagining, including the region of Abkhazia. Okay, which they've been trying to get independence for the longest. If you look into that, from what I know, but this is the region where Herodotus says there are black-skinned people like the Egyptians. If Herodotus was saying that the Colchians were just tanned, if that's all he was saying, were just tanned, he wouldn't compare them to Egyptians. He would compare them to himself. He was dark-skinned, quote unquote. No, the apropos word there that Herodotus used was black-skinned. It is the word that George Rawlinson, in his translation of the histories, it's the word that he translated it into. Black-skinned. They are black-skinned. Pindar, in his work, remarks again on the Colchians in the Pythian Odes. He says the Argonauts, if you're seeing this on the screen, came to face fascists. I hate that word. It sounds like if you're from the UK, it sounds like fasci. Okay, right. Where they clashed with the dark-faced Colchians. Okay, the dark. If you go, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this right now. I got this all ready for you, chap. If you go and look into the word that's been translated as dark-faced there, it's a cope. 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 Here's the word that's translated as dark-faced. Oh, I love the smell of victory in the morning. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Where is it? 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 Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let me add that to that. Here's the word. It is kelanos. It's a poetic variation of melanos. Okay. This is one of the most trusted, oldest sources of ancient Greek and Latin translation. Kelanos is the word that's used there. Okay, or derivative of it. Kelanopesis, kelanops. Okay. The word here, the first two words that return are dark and black. But don't be perturbed. Don't be perturbed by dark. Let's click on dark. Skin. Gray. Without light. Shadow. What color is a shadow, guys? shadow. Let's keep going. I guess metaphorical. But the first two, the first two terms returned are black and dark. Let's go to black. The word is black and deep, black eye, having black eye, black with leaves, blah, blah, blah. That is the word that's used to describe the Colchians. In the proper context, this place, this is why we can't play fast and loose with translations. A lot of people are wanting to say all of these people were black. If they were so, then you wouldn't have people like, you can't have your cake and eat it, guys. You wouldn't, chat, let me know if you get what I'm trying to get at here. Okay. Press one if you get what I'm trying to get at here. Okay. People want to say all these people were black. No, no, no. If that were if that were so, Pindar, Herodotus, later on Stephanos of Byzantium would not be saying there exists an Ethiopia, in a little Ethiopia in the middle of nowhere in Europe. Go to Caucasus. That's why Pindar calls them black faced, not dark, black faced. That's why Herodotus remarks on the fact that they're black faced. He's not talking about people half a shade tanner than him. No, he's talking about people, and as Herodotus calls it, he says they're black skinned with woolly hair. With woolly hair. Let's look at the word that's used to describe these people. From Herodotus. Oh, that's, is that long? No, I'm gonna get bogged down. I don't want to get bogged down. Let's move on. Let's move on. The point is, this is Pindar who talks about black-skinned Colchians. Okay, they don't like to talk about that. Chat. We'll move on. We'll move on. Okay, so Herodotus is one of the main people who actually starts to talk properly in more solid terms about, he's probably the first person you get who talks in very solid terms about where Homer's from or his background. He doesn't specifically talk about where he's from. He doesn't talk about where he's from. He talks about, let me show you. Let me show you what he talks about. There we go. Let's go to this. Pim, pim, pim. There we go. Okay, because this is what this says. This fast and loose entry on the Encyclopedia Britannica, what it does is it projects authority. It says things, and you're just supposed to take it at face value. When you go looking, you find that these are very, very tenuous links being drawn. Okay. The absence of hard facts did not deter the Greeks. The fictions that had begun even before the 5th century BCE were developed in Alexandria in the Alexandrian era in the 3rd and 2nd centuries BCE, when false scholarship as well as true abounded, into fantastic pseudo-biographies, and these were further refined by derivative scholars under the Roman Empire. So there's a reason they've done that, okay? The longest to have survived purports to be by Herodotus himself, but it is quite devoid of objective truth. They've glossed over a lot there. This is the con. Let me preface what I'm about to show you with this. Most translations, most proofs of people, ancient people, come from texts that have been copied over and over and over again, and that lose their veracity because things are taken out over time. Any classicist, any honest classicist will tell you this. Most accounts of certain of individuals that we believe existed are hundreds of years, are from sources that are written centuries after these things are supposed to have taken place. Library of Alexandria is one of those things. You look into the Library of Alexandria, you find that the actual evidence, hard textual evidence, not to talk of the archaeological evidence for the Library of Alexandria, is quite tenuous. Doesn't mean it didn't exist. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but the evidence for it is choppy. We have to draw. We have to draw from sources of information that have been written hundreds of years after uh, these things are supposed to have existed. Everybody knows this. This isn't surprising, okay, if you know what you're talking about. So, what happens though is later on, okay, later on, after Homer's supposed to have existed, okay, there exists a body of work that starts to emerge that says this guy was from Egypt. He wasn't even Greek. That's what is being spoken about here. And that's why they talk about it in this risible, this dismissive manner. Okay, the absence of hard facts. I don't even know what this sentence means. It's a very oddly worded sentence. It's written as if it's a novel, but it's not written that. Puzzled. And puzzled who? Okay. Puzzled, but did not deter the Greeks. Okay, fine, the Greeks. It's just an odd way to phrase it. The fictions that had begun even before the 5th century BCE were developed in the Alexandrian era in the 3rd and 2nd centuries. Okay, into fantastic pseudo biographies, and these were further refined by derivative scholars under the Roman Empire. My bet is that it's talking about here the stories that come about that this guy was an Egyptian. Okay, I wasn't gonna do this. I was not going to do this, but I think I will because it's alive, and I might as well just put out. Just let me explain something to you guys. There is hard evidence to suggest that not just Homer was an African, but the Odyssey and the Iliad, by extension, but the Odyssey was is an African story repackaged for Greece, repackaged centuries later in a Grecian context, much like everything else the Greeks get that the Greeks are famous for repackaged from Egypt, from Africans. There's evidence of it, and I'm going to show that tonight. Just stick with me. This is what they're talking about. Instead of deal with these accounts properly, they say the longest of one of these accounts, these pseudo biographies, to have survived purports to be by Herodotus himself, but it is quite devoid of objective truth. Now, it is the text of the life of Homer by pseudo Herodotus. Is very unlikely to have. It's very likely. No, no. What am I saying there? It's very unlikely to have been written by Homer. I will say that. But that does not take away from the fact that the person who wrote it felt confident enough to say that Homer was an Egyptian from Thebes, Upper Egypt. He felt confident enough to say that because whatever else he was saying that was made up, this at least wasn't made up because people around him in that time were saying the same thing. Why would this be? Okay, I'll explain why this would be, how this could possibly be. Chat, I can't really see because I've not got two screens in front of me. So let me know. I'm looking at a chat now. Let me know if you are if I'm coming through clear, if I'm coming through clear, and if you're understanding me, if you're feeling what I'm saying. Okay, let me know. Let me know. Okay, press one in the chat if you respond positively to that. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's look at Herodotus's claim. What Herodotus actually says about Homer. Let's look at what he says. Okay, this is all he says. He says, this is not pseudo Herodotus now. This is actual Herodotus speaking, who some have even said might not have existed. Believe it or not, people now also claim Herodotus possibly didn't exist. Okay, that's a claim that's going around, but has been going around, and which is unfair because the histories is very objective. People like to make out. Sometimes they call him the father of lies instead of the father of history now. But when he's talking of him, in fact, you'll see it now. When he's speaking in opinion, he says clearly, this is my opinion. When he's talking about stuff that people told him because he traveled, he says this is what people told me. Okay, he doesn't say anything as facts. He's talking from a place of these are my travels. These are what I've gathered. This is what I've gleaned. When the gods eventually severally sprang, this is Herodotus' The Histories. Whether or no they had all existed from eternity, what forms they bore, these are questions of which the Greeks knew nothing until the other day, so to speak, until yesterday. For Homer and Hesiod were the first to compose theogonies and give the gods their epithets, to allot them their several offices and occupations, and describe their forms. And they lived but 400 years before my time, as I believe. As for the poets who are thought by some to be earlier than these, they are, in my judgment, decidedly later writers. In these matters, I have the authority of the priestess of Dodona for the former portion of my statement. What I have said of Homer and Hesiod is my own opinion. See what I'm saying? He's very honest. It's his own opinion. Okay. And his opinion works out pretty factual. It works out pretty well. It works out to be, they discredit him, I believe, because of a few problematic things he says about black people. That's it. If Herodotus remains the stalwart that he was in years gone by in Western Europe, if he remains the stalwart of credible, not creditable, credible information, then you have to deal with the what he says about black Africans properly and their effect and their influence on the ancient world. You have to deal with what he says about the Egyptians properly, about their ethnicity properly. You have to deal with how influential he calls the blacks, the Ethiopians, in the army of the Babylonians, making up a formidable part of the immortals. The Persians, that the immortals were under the Persian Empire. Okay. You have to deal with these things properly, with integrity. But if he's just a collector of false tales here and there, then we can say, yeah. Herodotus said it, but Herodotus also said many things. Proof. Go on any quarrel discussion that touches on blacks and their greatness as per told by Herodotus. Invariably, at some point, you'll get Herodotus also talked about ants that dug for gold. Oh, this is what they do. They work their way back. It's called parallel construction. If you know, if you're from a criminology background, it's called parallel construction. You're working your way back because there's something you want to achieve. Homer says it's his opinion, but he believes Homer existed about 300, 400 years before him. Herodotus, we know, existed around the 5th century BC. So we're talking 400, 500 to about 400, in the 400 BCs, okay? That period. And he says, right here, he says, where am I? I've lost my way. Where is it? Where is it? I'm gone blind. But 400 years before my time. 400 years before Herodotus would be, let's see, about 800, 800 BC, 700 and something BC. Okay? No. Yeah, about 800. The 800s, that period. All right. Okay, cool. Let's go on. La 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 la. La 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 la. Okay, right. Don't want that. Don't want that. Okay, cool. Let me show you this to back up our boy Herodotus from our default article from our Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, ninth. Okay, here we go. Thank goodness, I remembered that. Okay, right. It seems nonetheless plausible it seems nonetheless plausible to conclude that the period of composition of the large scale epics, as distinct from their much shorter predecessors, was the ninth or 8th century, with several features pointing more clearly to the 8th century. So, he's not far off, is he, chat? He's not far off. Okay. All of that to say, all of that besmirching Herodotus because of what he said about the Egyptians being black, just to say, we've done our own research, and yeah, ninth or 8th century would be right. The Odyssey may belong near the end of this century. Okay, cool. The Iliad closer to its middle. Okay. Cool. All right. So Herodotus again isn't far off. What's happening? Okay, at the time the Odyssey is being composed by a person called Homer, or a group of people who will later be known as Homer. At the time of the Odyssey, okay, 8th century, 750 BC, some let's halfway point, okay, towards the end of that century, right? What's going on in the Mediterranean world? What's going on? Who are the power players? Chat, chat, chat. Who are the power players in the world in the 8th century, mid 8th century? Who are the power players, guys? Let me know. Let me see your responses. Let me see if we got some knowledgeable individuals, knowledgeable folk. Don't Google it now. Quick fire. Come on, rapid fire. Let me know. Who are the power players in the Mediterranean world? Because it's certainly not Greece. There isn't anything such as Greece. There isn't anything such as the Ionian League. There's none of that going on. They're nothing. They're nobodies at this time. Okay, they're nobodies. Let me chat, man. Now, come on. I want some. I want this to be interactive. Let me. Who's ruling in this period? Okay, let's click off of that. Bring this into view. There we go. I'll show you something. About to show you something. About to show you something. Something. Ooh. When I get this feeling, I want a sexual healing. It's good for me. You don't know. All right, let's see. Yeah, yeah, it gets like that, you know. I really do get excited like that when I'm debunking. Let's keep it PG. No, I'm joking, chat. I'm being a bit silly. Right. Who are the power players in the Mediterranean? I've not got my other laptop with me, so I'm having to go back and forth to see your responses in the chat. Thank you. Somebody said Kushite. Somebody said Phoenicians. Yes. Phoenicians are running the show. The Kushites are running the show. The 25th dynasty are running the show in the Mediterranean world. You might want to deny that the Egyptians. Thank you. You might want to deny the blackness of Egypt, but you cannot deny the blackness of the Kushites, the Kushitic 25th dynasty, who's dominating, everybody agrees, Egypt at this time, who's the superpower alongside Assyria at this time. They're both vying for top dog ship, if that's the word. Yeah, that's the word because I said it. It's a word. They're both vying for top dog ship at this time, along with the Phoenicians to a lesser extent. The Phoenicians, they don't really want any trouble. They're just trading. They're just traders. Okay? Right. But let me prove that. Let me present stuff. Okay. I'm just lining some things up. Okay, that's good. That's about enough. That's about enough. Let me just show you what's going on. Assyria. Assyria is a big dog. Okay. You can see on screen right now. This is the Neo-Assyrian Empire that is, um, well, the Neo-Assyrian Empire. This says 800 to, basically the Assyrians are ruling. They're running the show. Uh, right around. Let's look for. Okay, Assyrian Empire. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Do I want the new Assyrian Empire? Is that what I'm looking for? Okay, here we go. All righty then. Let's go for Ashurbanipal there. That's the ninth century. Okay, so you're looking at 800 BC period. Ashurbanipal's in charge, the second. This guy got Tiglath-Pileser in the mid 700s. Let's click on him. All right, blah blah blah. Tiglath-Pileser ended a series. Okay, right. He was the Neo-Assyrian emperor from 745 BC to his death in 727. One of the most prominent and historically significant Assyrian rulers, Tiglath-Pileser ended a period of Assyrian stagnation, introduced numerous political and military reforms. Blah blah blah. I'm looking if I can see a map of the empire, but it sits right next to places that will later become Greece. Okay, a map of New Assyrian Empire, purple before purple and after purple, blue after Tiglath-Pileser's reign. Okay, this is the region. I believe this is Cyprus. I believe. Okay, this is how big the empire is at the end of Tiglath-Pileser's reign. Okay, let's leave him. The 25th dynasty. They chat. This empire was bigger than this. This empire took over sources say, ancient sources talk about the western seaboard, all of Africa, all of North Africa to the west, all of the Maghreb was under the control. This guy defeated the Libyans, who are a black group as well, by the way. He defeated the Libyans. He owned the west. Okay, he was checked by the Assyrians in the east. I'm talking about Taharqa right now. The Kushites were checked and under Taharqa, to which they achieved their biggest extent, under whom they achieved the biggest extent of their empire, was checked all the way in the east by the Assyrians, but in the west, it was all him. All of it was us. All of it was the Kushites. Okay, all right. This is very, very read between the lines. Read between the lines, okay? But Thrace is a Greek polity, okay? Nobody knows where the name Thrace comes from. But as it was pronounced by the ancient Greeks, it wasn't Thrace, it was Traki. Here is the etymology here. The word Thrace from ancient Greek, Traki. Tell me that doesn't sound ominously like Taraka. Tell me. The law of Tiraka goes so far. We have texts that say he conquered as far as southern Spain. We have texts that say he was in league. This isn't debated. He was in league with the Phoenicians. He had an alliance. This is not debated now. There was an alliance between the Cushitic 25th dynasty and the Phoenicians. Okay? That would explain these. Let me present something else to you. This is all to show you who is reigning, who is the cultural behemoth, so that it's not something that should surprise you when Romans later said, "We've tracked it down, we've calmed down all the Greco and Hellenistic nationalism. We've calmed down. We had a bit of that in the early days under Alexander the Great when we're coming up and all of that. But we've all calmed down now. Cooler heads are prevailing, and a body of work is coming out. And we're being honest. We think Homer, whoever he was, came out from Upper Egypt, came out from that would track now. That would track with the period that we're talking about. That would track with the 25th dynasty, which it says here established 754 BC. This established 656 BC. Okay? That would track, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Now imagine I don't know. Imagine 100 years from now, people pretending Hollywood never existed. People pretending that American influence on Hollywood wasn't a thing. And people just talking about I don't know, whatever the studio is that does James Bond, that's responsible for James Bond and Harry Potter, and talking about how, oh, those British influenced, oh, they had all the stories, all of it was from the Brits, all of it was from the Brits. Imagine a situation where we just pretended that Hollywood wasn't a thing, that America had no influence on culture whatsoever. But we admit they were quite sizable in terms of power and influence at some point. But when it comes to possibilities for origins of certain things and cultural, yeah, we don't even talk about it. We don't even talk about it. we just pretend it never happened. That's what's going on here. That's exactly what's going on here. Right. Right, chat. Let me move off of this. Okay. Okay. We got the etymology there. We got I'm not saying that the Thracians were definitely seeded by the Kushites. I'm not saying that, but I am saying they actually emerged as a civilization, funnily enough, around the same time that the 25th dynasty comes into its own. Okay. And so I don't think this article says it. Um, century. Let's type the word century. Okay. Uh, it doesn't really tell us when, but after the Thracians, doesn't really tell us when. Indigenous Thracians were divided into numerous tribes. The first Greek colonies in coastal Thrace were founded. Ah, chat, chat, chat. Check it out. Check it out. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. Were founded in the 8th century BC. I'm just saying. Chat, can you see that? I'm just saying. Oh my goodness. So we have a place um that is being referred to as Traki. Okay. Um right around the time roughly around the time that an empire comes about, whose leader, whose main figure, whose flagship face, if you want to use that phrase, is a black man known as Tirako in some sources. But there's no possible links. Let me show you what artifacts have been attributed to the Phoenicians. Let me show you what artifacts have been attributed to Phoenicians. These are the Phoenicians that are trading all over the Mediterranean. They're in league with the Kushites. Remember, they love to say that the ancient world didn't see race, except when we try to claim that some people in the ancient world presented as a monolith as black. They're presented as black. Okay. Let me show you some of these artifacts. Okay, here we go. Some people have been playing. People have been playing, man. Right, let's go. Let's go to the Phoenicians. Okay. Some of you might have seen this before. Press one if you haven't. What I'm about to show you, let me know in the chat if you've actually seen what I'm about to show you. The Phoenicians were heavily influenced by the Egyptians. Okay. Heavily influenced by Africans. Let's just say that. In the least. In the least. Okay. All right. Let's go. Um, mm-mm. No, no, that's not what I want. Okay, cool. That's what I want. All right, let's go. Right, this is a Phoenician sarcophagus. Okay. I wish I could rotate that. That's a Phoenician sarcophagus. Okay, you could say it could be anybody. Cool. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I actually took this when I was at the. Can't remember which museum this was. Okay. Here is a Phoenician scarab found off the coast of Spain. They don't talk about this. This is what you find. They don't talk about this. They just don't talk about it. They don't they don't talk about it. And when conversations like we're having now come about, they pretend like nary a Greek ever saw a black person. Some of the conversations we've been having, I'm not gonna do a watch along. I could, but it would just add an unnecessary time to this. But Piers Morgan had the racists on, the merry band of racists, with the exception of um a very interesting and wonderful white guy who was there to spit facts, actual facts. And Lamont, what's his name? Lamont Hill. But with the exception of those two, Lamont Hill was exceptional. But I will say he wasn't, and I think they do this deliberately. He wasn't an expert on this. He wasn't an expert on this. I'm not an expert on this, but I could have presented a better case than Lamont Hill did. Than Mark Lamont Hill did. I could have presented a far better case. This idea that the Greeks and the ancient world, the Mediterranean, didn't know of black people, or no. There are texts. I can't be bothered to present them right now. Take this artifact as one evidence. Found off the coast of Spain, on Spanish islands, Ibiza, okay, which is thought to be named after the Egyptian god Bes, the Egyptian pygmy god Bes, which would then match why Isidore of Seville talks about a race, a Negroid race of people who have inhabited Spain for the longest time. Okay, in his time, or not far off his time. Okay, obviously not there anymore. Melded into the general population, even though they don't want to admit that they have any black heritage. Okay, where did these people come from? These scarabs, by the way, have been dated to around when? Around when? When we were popping. When we was popping. When we was kings. When we was kings, man. That 8th century. The 8th century is when these scarabs roughly have been dated to. And they've been found off the coast of Spain, which match the accounts of Taharqa conquering all of North Africa and conquering into southern Europe, into Spain. Okay, let's keep going. Another Phoenician scarab found off the coast of Spain. Oh, oh shoot! Oh my goodness! I better put this one back in. Oh my days! Oh my days! Oh my goodness! My word! Clay bust from Punta de Nau, Cadiz. Cadiz. Phoenician sculpture of an African man. Oh, not a Phoenician now. It's not a Phoenician. It's a Phoenician sculpture of an African man. Because we Phoenicians, we just like to make busts of Africans. Oh my goodness. Here's another Phoenician scarab. We just like to put them on our coins and our jewelries. They don't talk about this. I had to go looking for these. Shout out again to the debunker. The debunker gave me a few of these, but I had to go looking for a lot of these. These are all on the Iberian Peninsula. These are all Spanish, supposedly Phoenician scarabs. Okay? We're never going to talk about the pineapple that's next to these guys, which isn't supposed to have existed in Europe. Okay, we're never going to talk about the pineapple that's going on there. Okay, check out my video on the oh the 25th dynasty. I did a series on them and I crescendoed on the idea um as per the great Ivan van Sertima, who said that these Kushites made their way to the Americas and brought back stuff. Okay, that's a pineapple. I don't care. People have said it's a pine cone. You're an idiot. Just facts. You're an idiot. Okay, that's a pineapple. I don't know. I don't know how detailed you want people from way back when to be before you start talking sense. These are the Phoenicians. Now, this shouldn't surprise you because the Phoenicians said, that's another one. I'm not sure this is from the 9th century or the 8th century. I think it's from the 9th century, not the 8th century. No, sorry, the 26th dynasty. This is the 26th dynasty scarab. Looks just like an Olmec head, doesn't it? Okay. Let's go on. No, have I got it in here? Okay, that's gone. That's gone. It gets ridiculous. Let me see some of what you guys are saying in the chat. Um, someone said, "Don't know white man or woman have built like these dudes." Says, someone else says, "That's you, Kieran Grant. Thank you for that." Yeah, of course it's Phoenician. Blue Man Vision says, descriptions say that other descriptions say that bust is actually a Phoenician. Yes, most descriptions of that bust just say straight out Phoenician. Now, why would Kieran Grant says Obama's entered the? You know what? That's the first thing I saw. I thought when I saw it as well. I thought Obama. I thought the same thing. There is actually a guy who has a theory, and I used to listen to really out there radio ages ago when I used to listen to Coast to Coast. Shout out if you remember Coast to Coast AM in America there. Just the weird and the wonderful. Joe Rogan hasn't got a thing. Joe Rogan is boring, man. Coast to Coast used to be the place. Some guy came on in about 2009, 2010 saying on Coast to Coast AM saying Obama was a time traveler. Oh, you used to get the weirdest things on that show. Anywho, yeah, I thought that looked like Obama as well when I first saw it. Okay, chat, let's go, let's go. But yes, most places say that bust, if you've seen it, is a Phoenician. Why would the Phoenicians present like Africans? Let me show you. It's not far off Africa. Guys. It's mind-boggling. It's just mind-bending for everybody to have been sailing there, here, there, and everywhere, apart from Africa, apart from black people. Stuff that's right next door to the continent. The people are shocked when I put our video saying the original Arabs, the original people of the Southern Arabian Peninsula were black people, dark black, deep black, melanated. We're talking blue black people. They're shocked. You only have to look on a map. You can swim it. You can swim from Kenya to flipping. You can swim from. It's ridiculous. This is what I'm talking about. A sickness. There's a sickness that pervades the world right now, and people, some of the best people, really, really good people now. Okay, some of them are I'm not gonna lie again. I sit in pews with some of these people. They don't know how far, like, they've been trained to think nothing of blackdom, to think nothing of black civilizations. So when you start fixing your mouth to tell them, or I make content about how, unknown content, about how, ancient Egypt was black, the Arabians, the original Arabs were black before invasion. I make content just popularizing these lost facts of history. They look at you like, nah, you're taking the mick, you're taking the proverbial piss. You're the problem. You're what's wrong with society right now. This woke left wing stuff. No, 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 no. Just look up. Just pick up a map. It's not that. It's not that insane. It's not that insane. You know, populations change, demographics change. Some of the people claiming now that somewhere that's a stone's throw away from Africa could never have been black, and I'm making some of this stuff up. Some of those stuff now, some excuse me, some of those people are the loudest people shouting about erasure. They're wiping us out. They're gonna wipe us out in a generation. Oh, but I thought you couldn't do that in Egypt. I thought you couldn't do that in Saudi Arabia, in Oman, in Yemen. I thought you can possibly erase people over thousands of years, and change the demographic look of a place. Oh, but you're being erased over the course of what? The last 50 years. Your population demographics are being changed over what? What, since the 60s, since the Windrush, since a few Jamaicans came off the boat in England, you know, you're being erased in decades. Not Africans, not black people, over the course of hundreds, over the course of Abbasids, uh uh um someone help me out here. Abbasids, you had the Abbasids, you had the what's Sassanids, Ottomans. Over the course of time, with those people coming in and talking about black ain't this and black ain't that and get rid of blackie, we're not being erased. That couldn't possibly have happened. But you really have to watch your demographics because, everyone's out to get the white man. It's insane. It's actually insane. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. So there's a reason why the Phoenicians would have looked like that. They actually said, we come from the Red Sea. Now, what they want you to believe, the Eritrean Sea. Okay, let's look at where the source for that is. Let's go back to let me share the screen again. Let's go to Herodotus. Herodotus says that the Phoenicians, according to reports he's heard, come from the Erythraean Sea or Eritrean Sea. That's where we know today as the Red Sea. But in ancient times, the Red Sea. Ooh, let's look for this. Where is it gone? Here we go. Erit. Okay. Go. I think it's in. Let me present the screen, guys. There we go. Chat every now and then. Just hit one. Just hit one if you're if there's a vibe in here. If you're learning something, just let me know, please. I need to know. I feed off your energy. Let me know. Two, if you don't, if you're not feeling it, and you know what, just bounce. Just bounce. I don't even bother with two. Just bounce. But one. I want to see ones. All right, let's. There we go. There we go. Lord Harker says, "Oh, there. Look at how apropos." Lord Harker in the building saying 1111111. Thank you. Ali Bernard says one. Okay, right. Let's go. Where is it now? Herodotus PDF. Let's go. Right, we're looking for the Phoenicians and the Erythraean Sea. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. I believe it's Herodotus who says that. Okay. Come on. Blah blah blah. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. The Phoenicians took their departure from Egypt by way of the Erythraean Sea and so sailed into the Southern Ocean. That's the Red Sea. Okay, that's the Red Sea. The Phoenicians are very used to taking their departure and mingling in and around that Red Sea, that thin strip called the Red Sea, right? But there is evidence for the fact that it didn't just mean that thin strip that we now know as the Red Sea. It meant also parts of the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Gulf and the Persian Gulf. Okay, was known and seen as the Red Sea. That's a fact. That's a fact. So it's very vague sometimes. You have to use your common sense. You have to use your common sense. Now, the Phoenicians say that they came from the somewhere in the Erythraean Sea, and I'm looking for the exact quotes. I think it's Herodotus who says it. There we go. I think this is it. The Phoenicians with the Syrians of Palestine, okay, furnished 300 vessels, the crews of which were thus accoutred. Upon their heads, they wore helmets made nearly in the Grecian manner. About their bodies, they had breastplates of linen. They carried shields without rims and were armed with javelins. This nation, according to their own account, dwelt anciently upon the Erythraean Sea, but crossing thence, fixed themselves on the seacoast of Syria. Okay, where is the Erythraean Sea? Images. Let's go to images. So, you're looking at this, and this is what they claim is the Erythraean Sea. Okay, we've just read Herodotus said that they departed the Erythraean Sea next to the Egyptians. So, obviously, wasn't just this. Okay, but this is what they're trying to erase the fact that the Erythraean Sea also meant this. Now they're calling it the Arabian Gulf in this map. Okay, not true. Let's keep going. Um, I want to see this properly. I want to see this properly. Oh, awful, awful image. Does it even have it? Come on now, come on. Well, this one just shows this bit. Okay, it just shows the. In any case, right? The Erythraean Sea covered what is now known as the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf and the. Here we go. Does this one show it? It says Arabian Gulf, and it shows the Erythraean Sea is just this bit underneath Arabia. But of course, as we've just read, it encompassed the bit that we now know as the Red Sea. Let me go back to that particular. There we go. The Phoenicians took their departure from Egypt by way of the Erythraean Sea and so sailed into the Southern Ocean. Okay, so the Erythraean Sea was obviously envisaged as that sea that we now know as the Red Sea, that thin strip. Now, what makes more sense? Oh, let me just do a wiki. Let me just show you the Wikipedia entry on it. Okay, the Erythraean Sea is an ancient geographical designation. I don't really like doing AI, but I don't want us to get stuck on this. It's an ancient geographical designation that historically described the waters encompassing the modern day Red Sea, Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, and parts of the Indian Ocean. That's from a Wikipedia base. Okay. What makes more sense? Okay. What makes more sense that the Phoenicians saying to Herodotus that they made their way from the Erythraean Sea and they looking like in some of their artistic depictions of themselves, some of them, okay, a lot of them, you just don't see them. I could present you much more. than the scarabs I just showed you and the heads I just showed you, the terracotta heads I just showed you. I could present you much more, but this live isn't about that. This is a massive, massive digression. Okay. But which makes more sense? That they crossed when they're telling Herodotus we came from the Eritrean Sea, that they're talking really about somewhere here. There ain't nothing going on here anyway. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Where are the islands? Where are the islands? Or that they were talking about. Oh, for goodness sake, come on. There we go. That they were talking about right here, right there, in a sea that belongs to Africa, that belongs to the Egyptians, that belongs to the Cushites, that belongs to the Ethiopians. Which makes more sense? That we went all the way from here. I don't know what we did. What? We went all the way down, crossed the Cape of Good Hope. What? Chat, help me out. Which makes more sense? So whenever they're talking, whenever you see classicists interpret the Eritrean Sea, they interpret it within context. They work out, oh, what are the places that are being spoken of, okay, and where in the Eritrean Sea, in this vague body that's known as the Eritrean Sea, where are we most likely talking about? Okay, that's what they do. But nowadays, when the Phoenicians, because we have to make it make sense, and we have to go back and retrospectively do Blackie out of history. Okay, first we pretend that these artifacts that we find that belong to the Phoenicians, that are being made and manufactured right around the time the Phoenicians are in close confederations with the Kushite 25th dynasty. Right, first of all, we've got to put these artifacts somewhere in a musty old room in a museum somewhere. Secondly, we've got to tell people that the Eritrean Sea really meant India, or or the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go on. So I say all of that to say, around the period that the Encyclopedia Britannica Online claims that the Odyssey and the Iliad were being formed and created, around that time, okay, the powers, the main cultural and military powers in the Mediterranean were black presenting people, the Phoenicians, and the Black Empire of the 25th dynasty. That's who's. So lest anybody pretend black people were not featuring in these times and places, I've just shown you that. Okay, now let's get into the big stuff. Let me explain what's about to happen to you. Let me give you the narrative, what's really happening. The Greeks later on, when they actually settled down to say, where did this Homer guy come from? If he existed as one person, where did he come from? What they're saying is Africa. What they're saying is Egypt. Now, I might as well just show you. Okay, here we go. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of Bane. I'll play the video. Um, no, I won't play the video. Actually, let me not do that. Here's what I think's going on. I was explaining this to someone this week, and it was really helpful. Shout out to them. let me speak um without any complaints, because I must be boring their minds to heck. Um, you look at the trajectory. Um, mm, you look at the trajectory of culture and how cultures and civilizations develop. One day you're nobody. The next day you're somebody. Look at Britain. Okay, look at the English. Look at Rome even. Rome was a backwater place. Look at Greece. Alexander the Great of Macedon. Macedonia was nothing. It was a you read the lore of it. It was a place of just sheep herders. Overnight, through the vicissitudes of history, through the up and downs of life and history, it pops up on the global stage. Okay? So what do you do when you're now somebody and you were nothing the day before? You start to feel yourself. You start to develop lore. You start to develop origin stories. And a lot of the time, because you were nobody yesterday and now today you're somebody, a lot of your lore you're getting from people who yesterday were somebody, who you've just devoured, who you've cannibalized, who you've, abrogated now. Um, you see it with English culture. You see it with how the English Isles, the British Isles, sorry, how they develop their lore. St. George, a lot of their myths, Arthur. I've done a video on this. Go and check that video out. I'm not my words, okay? There's textual evidence for this. The very first people that translated Antara ibn Shaddad's odes, the works of Antara ibn Shaddad, he was a warrior poet from the southern Arabian Peninsula. He was a black man. Nobody disputes that. Even haters don't dispute that. He was a black man. He was a slave. He won his way out of slavery through his courage. But everybody was a slave on the Arabian Peninsula at that time. These people, the Arabs have a lot to answer for. Well before any transatlantic slave trade, they are sick in terms of they're just lazy people. Historically, sorry, the Arabian Peninsula, just I don't know, cultures that are predicated on slavery, very, very, very just lazy. And it wasn't so on the African continent. For the most part, especially particularly in West Africa, slaves was the concept of slavery was very different. It was very, very different. It wasn't a perpetual thing. It was just very different. Okay. But a lot of cultures around us, a lot of peoples around us had a culture of just sitting down, a very predatory, sitting on their behinds and making other people do the work. Graping and pillaging, just to people steal to build their stuff for them. Don't want to use the S word. To build their stuff that they should be pulling their thumbs out and building themselves. So the Arabs have this culture massively, okay, and I'm talking about the original Arabs now, okay, black peoples, okay. Um, it became it turbocharged when you had people from Turkey and other places like that come in and start to cosplay as Arabs, as the original Arabs. It really got worse. It went on steroids. But this is the culture. Antara ibn Shaddad was from that culture. He was a slave who won his freedom. Down to the myth of Excalibur. There are passages where Antara ibn Shaddad discovers this gleaming sword, pulls it out from a rock, and he says, "This is the sword by which I'll have victory." Okay, and it becomes his own sword. Down to even Excalibur, the British stole. I use the word stole very deliberately. I say stole because, for the most part, Brits don't and white Western civilization doesn't have a problem. Doesn't have a problem. Um, when you say, "Oh, we got this from the Greeks, we got this from the Romans. Oh, look at architecture." It only has a problem admitting osmosis, cultural osmosis, when it comes to when it comes to black people or people that could have been black, Africans. They have a real problem with that. So this is controversial. But the very first people who translated Antara ibn Shaddad's work said, oh, shoot. Even as prejudiced as they might have been, they said, shoot, oh, this is the Arthurian legends. Um, this is the earliest iteration of anything sounding like the Arthurian legends. Oh, this is where it came from. And it made sense because around the time the Arthurian legends were being developed, you had the Crusades. And what happened at the Crusades? A bunch of white people came to the Levant, a place right next to Africa, and fought alongside Moors and black people coming out from the kingdoms of Ethiopia and Egypt, Aksum. Look up the kingdom of Aksum if you're new to this. You had a lot of people fighting alongside and against Moors and collecting stories when they're coming back to France and England. That's when they start building their laws. That's when they start growing. You have the Ottomans slightly on decline. You have Africa on decline, rapid decline. The Moors are on decline. Then you have Europe rising. And what happens? They start to cannibalize other people's stories. Britain develops this Arthurian myth. Okay. Then another example is another example is I've lost it now. Another example is St. George. St. George isn't white. He wasn't white. Okay. St. George was a Palestinian, very likely who had a black mother. Okay. Again, that's not surprising. Don't miss me with he couldn't have been black. We have coinage. I've done a video on it. Coinage representing St. George. Go back, check out my videos from a year and a half ago. Coinage from close to the time of St. George showed a man with an afro, for goodness sake. Black skinned, not the coinage, but murals and frescoes showed a black skinned man in the Russian Orthodox Church, in the Greek Orthodox Church, a black skinned man with a close curling afro. Look at the coinage on that's coming out of the earliest coinage we have of St. George is a man with thick lips, bulbous nose, and curly afro. That's what he was. His father was supposedly Greek, but even that doesn't mean anything. When you see how people, that's a nationality, that's not an ethnicity. This is very simple, except when it comes to black people explaining this stuff. Then people try to pretend they don't know the difference between nationality and ethnicity. Oh, well, he was Greek. It says he was Greek. He could never have been black. No. I'm British. It's a nationality. I'm black. That's not a new thing. Newsflash, people have been moving about since forever. So when you put that commonsensical fact together with the coinage that shows a black person in a region that's right next to, it's not even next to Africa, the so-called Middle East or the Fertile Crescent is an appendage of Africa. Okay? Is an appendage of Africa. So when you put that together, ergo, it's not a big deal. He was a black person. He was a guy who presented, and it's not just the coinage. You trace back the lineage of the myth of a man riding into a place and killing a giant lizard-like creature. It's an Egyptian myth that was transposed onto a Roman era soldier, a Greco-African Roman era soldier who did bits. So they take that law and they transpose it onto him, and it just feeds the law. Johnny Come Lately from Europe comes over, gets this law, goes back with it, and completely pretends he never got it from anyone else. It was just him. It was all to do with him. All of that gets lost. To the point where if you talk about this now, to the point where, who waves the St. George's flag in England? It's the tool of the tools. It's the tool of the tools. It's the tool of the racist tools. In England, if you're not from England, typically today, the people who wave around the St. George flag are people saying, get out of my country. This is England. Whereas the person who actually is eponymously linked to the flag was a black presenting man, would not be allowed in the country. if you existed today. Are you following me, chat? Okay. So that's what you do when you become somebody, and yesterday you weren't somebody. You were nobody. You start to present retrospectively, you start to create your own law. And that's all well and good. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. But you're just using what other people have gone before you, what they've had. That's all you're doing. It's as old as time. And so when the Greeks come on the scene, a nationalistic fervor, this is my opinion now, a nationalistic fervor takes hold, and people start talking about Homer. That you create a national bard. The English have Shakespeare. Shakespeare's the national bard. The Russians have Pushkin or Dostoevsky. Pushkin, ironically, was a black man. So again, we're coming full circle. Pushkin's grandfather was Gannibal, the Ethiopian enslaved African who later became a warrior. And how that movie's not been made into a how that story's not been made into an Hollywood epic again shows you really what white folk are on about. It shows you where they're at, really, because you have so many epic stories you could tell about black history, about black folk. Even in the European space, they don't tell it. They don't tell it for several reasons. Instead, they do silly things like they do with the Cleopatra on Netflix thing. That's an epic story. Gannibal was an Ethiopian man. He's the father, he's the grandfather, okay, of the mixed heritage Pushkin, who is Russia's Shakespeare. Pushkin loved his grandfather. He wrote so much. He wrote about him constantly. He was proud of his Ethiopian heritage. Okay, that's how intertwined human history is. Newsflash for the white supremacists. That's how influential we were. We was kings, and thank you, Kieran Grant. We were generals as well. Okay, so you create your own. You create your own national poet. In your national Homer was the Greeks' national poet. And the nationalistic fervor behind Homer didn't die down for a while. When it did die down, when it did die down, you had people saying, right, where did this man likely come from? Where did this man likely come from? And you know what? Some of them were honest. And this is what they said. Check this out. So again, remember, it's not a big deal for somebody to be written about hundreds of years later. Okay, after their supposed uh, uh existence. Okay, but what's also looks like is happening in this story is that lots of things we've lost lots of texts. We've lost a lot of um ancient material, because this is what they say. This is what the Greeks say. Let's go to YouTube. Let's go to chat. Let me know if you can hear this. Okay, just let me know if you can hear this. Is this Homer? Love you. Protect this moment. It's pure love. Is it coming through? Shut up, shut up, shut up. Okay, so this is the video I did on Homer not long ago. I want to show you two quotes. Just two quotes. Blah blah blah. This is a guy called Clement of Alexandria, writing in the first century, second century. Okay, 150 to 215 AD. Okay, he's still firmly within the Hellenistic culture. Rome is, the dawn of the day. And this is what he says. Then I'll play to you. I'll show you what he says, and then I'll show you the cope surrounding what he says. Remember, the whole nationalistic fervor has died down, and now we're investigating. Where did Homer come from? This is what Clement of Alexandria, firmly within the Roman world, what this is what he says.
This is the chronology of the older Greek sages and philosophers. I hardly need to say that the majority of them were non Greek by birth and educated by non Greeks, when Pythagoras has been shown to be Tyrian, Antisthenes a Phrygian, and Orpheus a Thracian. The majority make Homer to be an Egyptian.
Okay, so did we all hear that? Was that clear? Chat, let me know if you heard that, please. The majority make Homer to be an Egyptian. I need ones. I need ones if we heard that. If you want me to play that again, I'll play it. That's from Clement of Alexandria. He was a theologian, a second century theologian and historian. Um, Chat, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did that come? Okay, thank you, Bio. That's cool. That's cool. So let's go to the cope surrounding that text. No. Okay. There we go. All right, let me share that. Come on, what's going on? Uh, there we go. Cool, cool. All right, screenshot. Okay, so about the quote of what's his name now? Clement of Alexandria saying, look, the majority of the sources I know, the quote was the majority of the sources I know say that Homer was Egyptian. Okay, this is what's said about it. An extraordinary statement. This is, I believe, from a guy called John Ferguson, is the book. An extraordinary statement, although Homer's birthplace was disputed among the Greek cities of the Asia Minor coast. Clement is forcing his evidence. There's no citation for that. Okay, there's no citation for that. He just says it's an extraordinary statement. This is a scholar, mind you. Although Homer's birthplace was disputed among the Greek cities of Asia Minor coast, Clement is forcing his evidence. Why? You can't just say that. He's closer to the time. He says the majority. All right, let's look at what he actually. Let's look at. Do I have it? There we go. Okay, here we go. There we go. I got it. I got it for you guys. There we go. All right, I got it for you guys. Let's go for that. This is a deep dive, guys. So I hope I'm not boring you. This is a. We've got to do this properly. The majority make Homer to be so a couple of things here, okay? He says it almost in a blasé fashion. He says, I hardly need to say that the majority of the Greek sages, the oldest ones, were non-Greek by birth and educated by non-Greeks. You know why he's saying that? A lot of it's true. It's true. A lot of these people were educated in Egypt anyway, partially. They said they were. Again, they like to dispute that. They excuse the cope behind that, and I'm using the word cope deliberately because that's what they would class this as if it was somebody saying it in a black context. Okay, um, if it was denial coming from a black context, a black history concept, they would say, "Oh, that's cope. That's cope." Okay, we have all these sources. Okay, the cope is, oh well, everyone wanted to be linked to Egypt somehow, so they just claimed it. It's not true. So when they're claiming something that you don't like, you get to just say, that's not true because, fill in the blank. Okay, this is what Clement of Alexandria says after the nationalistic fervor in Greece has died down. He says the majority make Homer to be an Egyptian. A lot of our greats, they're not even Greek. They weren't even Greek guys. Okay, but that doesn't matter. They're still Greek by culture or whatever. They became Greek by culture and by, over time we came to see them as Greek. But he says the majority make Homer to be an Egyptian. This guy, John Ferguson, I think, doesn't say, he doesn't wonder, he doesn't say, oh, extraordinary. What are the sources? It would be interesting to know. A more scholarly rebuttal, a more scholarly footnote might be, it'd be interesting to know which sources Clement of Alexandria is referring to here. Especially, this is me talking now, especially when he's not the only one to make this claim. Remember what we read in the Encyclopedia Britannica, where they claimed that a body of scholarship had developed around the Alexandrian period, after the Alexander the Great's putting Greece on the map. Okay, a body of information had come about claiming that, claiming to know the biography of Herodotus. They're all rubbish. They're all rubbish, especially that pseudo Herodotus. Why? Because this is what they're saying. That's why. This is what they're saying. Now, sadly, as tragic as it may be, we've lost a lot of these texts. Conspiracy time, I don't actually believe we've lost them. I believe they're sitting somewhere in some rich old white guy's library, okay, in some Harvard basement somewhere, or the Vatican, okay, and they're just sitting on it. They're just, it's not, yeah, whatever. That's just for our eyes only. I really believe that, but that's my belief. That's my, you will permit me, okay, you will permit me based on what I've seen, and I'll show you just a bit of that later tonight. Based on what I've seen, you permit me to have that paranoia. But this guy who's translating this text and he's commenting on this text doesn't wonder. What's he on about? Very, very unscholarly. He just says it's an extraordinary statement. Homer's birthplace was disputed among the Greek cities. Clement is forcing his evidence. What evidence? What evidence? You've not inquired. Okay, that's cope number one. Let me show you another cope. Chat, do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? Do you understand the levels to which some of these people go to just outright right blackness, right Africa, right the global south, right anyone that's not white, that doesn't look like them? Do you see the extent to which they will go? Okay, right. So we have, thank you, Kieran. Kieran says one. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see the next quote. The next quote is from a guy called Carsidius. Okay, Carsidius. Let me get this up. I'll show you what Carsidius says. Okay, skip admin. Come on, move. Here we go. Let's move this. Okay, chat. Carsidius says in his book, what's this book called? It's a commentary on Plato's Timaeus. I think this is Again, this is in the first century. The prophets of the Egyptians also fear, you're reading that paragraph 126 here. The prophets of the Egyptians also fear a certain star called Ak, which appears only every so many years, and in its rising, the star portends disease and death among the people and many of the nobility. In the event, Homer, who was Egyptian, look how he just says it blase. In the event, Homer, who was Egyptian too, according to the tradition of his being from Thebes, the noblest city in Egypt, implicitly rehearses this very point at the beginning of the Iliad, when he says that because of the wrath of Achilles, whose father was Peleus and mother a sea goddess, disease and death, blah, 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 etc. I don't really know what he's talking about there at the end. Maybe he's transposing Ak with Achilles. Okay. Maybe he's drawing on that. But the point that is being made here is that they're saying Homer wasn't a Greek. And they're saying it blase. They're saying Homer wasn't even Greek. He wasn't even Greek, guys. He was Egyptian. Specifically, the tradition says he was from Thebes. Now, what are these sources? What are these sources? We know they exist or existed at least because the Encyclopedia Britannica refers to them, if only to poo-poo them. They existed. Where are they? Instead of inquiring about these sources, the footnote on this, you won't believe what the footnote says. The footnote says this. Let me stop sharing this and present to you again what the footnote says. This is I don't know who specifically the name behind this, but this is a Harvard um, edition on Carsidius's commentary. This is what they say. This is the Harvard quote on Carsidius's Egyptian take. The traditions that traced Homer back to Thebes in Baetia, there is no tradition. He just says that. He just says that. There's two Thebes. There's one in the Hellenistic world, which was named after the Thebes of Upper Egypt, and there's the original Thebes in Upper Egypt. This guy just says willy nilly, traditions that traced Homer back to Thebes in Baetia would naturally have bred confusion with Thebes in Upper Egypt, especially wherever there was a will to find an inspired theologian in Homer. Any knowledge of the ancient Alexandrian editions and commentaries would probably have tended to fuel speculation concerning. Irony alert. The guy writing is speculating himself. He's speculating. But he's talking about somebody on the ground, almost 2,000 years before him, saying there are traditions that talk about Homer being from Thebes. Instead, so what the point, guys, make it make sense. Let's square the circle. One authority says, oh, Clement is forcing it. He's forcing it. He's forcing the evidence. Another guy says, no, well, people just confused two places. People confused two places. One guy doesn't even mention. See, one guy tries to at least deal with what the guy's saying and saying, he says, look, it's probably because he got it mixed with Upper Egypt and blah, blah, mixed with a place in Greece. That's what we're talking about. One guy just says, he's forcing the evidence. They don't even agree. The scholars don't even agree. They just know they have to debunk. They have to just say, this doesn't make sense. Chat, do you see what I'm saying? They don't even make sense. Thank you. Lord Tahaka says one. They don't even agree. This is mental. They can't even say with a straight face together, this is what's happening here. Two different authors now. They can't even agree on a straight story. They can't make their story match. Now, I said at the beginning or earlier on, there is evidence, greater evidence to prove that Homer, than all these people, greater evidence than these people years later saying, oh, he's Egyptian. Let me give you one more thing that will take us to where I want us to go, where I want us to end this. Um, it's a bridge. It's a bridge. Let's go back to that video of mine. Um, this is from a text called Ethiopica. Again, this is I think a first century text. We're not even going to go to the life of Homer. The life of Homer by Pseudo Herodotus says that he was from Upper Egypt. Again, we don't. It's not Herodotus. Very likely Herodotus didn't write it. Somebody claiming to be Herodotus wrote it, but I believe Pseudo Herodotus in the life of Homer was writing BC. BC. So not that far off Herodotus himself. I think it was 200 BC or so, or 100 BC. Not far off, not ages of Herodotus himself, okay? But when we start getting proper concrete, this isn't like at the beginning where I showed you about Chios, where we don't even have the text that claims he was from Chios. We just have people talking about somebody who claimed he was from Chios, who alluded to the fact that he was from Chios. We showed you how this Chios myth wasn't even comes from a text where the writer doesn't even claim he was Homer. It's just an ode that people think sounds Homeric, sounds like Homer's the way Homer writes, and so they say, oh, and it's a very cryptic quote. Go back if you're watching this back. Go back to the beginning, or sorry, if you're just joining us, watch this back. Go back to the beginning. It's a very tenuous claim, but now, when things have settled down in the Greek world, in the Hellenistic world, when people are actually saying, let's debate this, let's deep this, let's properly look at this, they're not apoplectic. They're not losing their minds to say, yeah, this guy was Egyptian. They're saying it almost blasé. Some of them even say half of our folk weren't even Greek. Half of our great founding philosophers weren't even Greek ethnically. They were from other places and then became Greek by nationality. So when things settle down and cooler heads are prevailing and people are being more academic about it in the ancient world, in the classical world, it makes sense that people are putting aside the nationalistic law and the chauvinism and they're looking at things with straight glasses. Chat, do you get what I'm saying to you? And what they're saying when they're looking at things properly, some of them are still saying he was from Greek islands, fine. But a lot of them are saying, oh, no, no, this guy must have come from Egypt. This is why they're saying that. I'm about to play it for you. It's put in, it's, thank you. Bayu, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bayo Uzodu. I hope I'm saying that with a proper face. Bayo Uzodu sounds Igbo. Sounds like you got an Igbo mom and a Yoruba mom and an Igbo dad. Everything, you don't have to confirm that. Everything is based on peer reviews and consensus, never on facts and scientific methods. Yeah, this stuff is more based on you scratch my back, I scratch yours, but make sure to leave Blackie out. Whatever you do, however good you scratch, however hard you scratch, or soft you scratch, make sure you leave Blackie out of it. We can all agree. We can all agree that Blackie did nothing. That's the common thread. Okay, that's the common thread. Let me show you what right, where was I? Let me show you what they're saying. Thank you, Kieran. Yeah, never give Blackie credit. That's one thing we can all agree on. Let me show you what is said by Heliodorus in his fictional work Ethiopica. I preface it, it is fictional. It is fictional. But a lot of facts are presented in fiction as well. That'd be like saying um, the the Statue of Liberty didn't exist because it appears in a work by, I don't know, flipping what's this guy's name? Uh, Mark Twain, or it appears in a work by Charles Dickens. It appears in a work by uh the guy who wrote The Raven and all. That is so stupid. Of course, it existed. You sometimes a lot of fiction is based. If I'm going to write a work of fiction, I do research about a time and place that I want to write it in. If I'm not from that time and place, and I surround that fiction with factual elements if it's going to be believable. Ethiopica is a story that takes place, is an adventure that goes through Africa, okay, and lots of weird things happen in it. But listen to this from Heliodorus in Ethiopica. Listen to what he says through the mouth of one of his characters. I'm gonna boost the volume. Hopefully you can hear this. Um. Oh. Okay.
Heliodorus, Ethiopica, 220 AD. Book 1.
Could I need that for myself? I swear down. I swear down. How do I get the ad blocker, guys? Oh my days. All right, sorry guys, just one sec. I hate these people. Abercrombie and Ken, what's that? What's that? No, I don't care. Right, here we go.
I marveled how they, being Aeneans, did say that they are of Achilles' blood, since the Egyptian poet Homer said that Achilles was born at Phthia, that is, Thessaly. Book 2 of Heliodorus' Ethiopica, the discourse between Calasiris and Cnemon. Wherefore the Egyptians make the images of their gods.
Can people hear that? How on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is it? 10 being very good, 10 being excellent. How good's the audio? Let me know, please, before I carry on. How good was that audio? 7. Okay, seven's good. Seven's good. Thank you. Right, let's go. Let's proceed. This is Heliodorus in Ethiopica. Let's go.
With their feet joined together and not separated asunder, which thing the skilful Homer, like an Egyptian and one well instructed in the holy doctrine, secretly and closely signified in his verses, leaving them to be understood by such as had the power to understand. You have initiated me well, sir, into these mysteries, said Cnemon. But when you often call Homer an Egyptian, a thing which no one has ever heard of, though I may not disbelieve you, yet I marvel, and beg you now to discuss this matter also. It is nothing near to our purpose, said the other, to talk of such things. But yet I will briefly tell you. Homer, by diverse reports, may be ascribed to diverse countries. But to tell the truth, he was our countryman, an Egyptian, born in Thebes of the 100 Gates, and his father was putatively a prophet, but in reality, his father was the god Hermes, in whose temple the father served. For when his mother was doing certain sacrifices after the manner of the country, she fell asleep in the temple, and the god lay with her and engendered Homer, who indeed had on him a token of his unlawful conception, the great deal of hair that grew on his thighs, wherefrom, as he travelled in Greece and other countries, reciting his poems, he got his name. He himself would neither tell his name, nor his country, nor kindred. Therefore, those who knew the quality of his body gave him a name therefrom. See, he was ashamed of his banishment, for he was driven out of his country by his father when the time came for him to become a priest, being known then to be a bastard by reason of the mark on his body. Your words seem very true and wise, said Cnemon, for when I consider Homer's verse, it is truly of Egyptian fashion, stuffed with all pleasure and delectation.
Okay. Right. So that's what's being said. The key bit I want us to pay attention to is the fact that um in that quote, put it back on the screen. Wait. Did you guys even could you see what was on this? Wait, what? Oh, this isn't. Could you see what was actually on the screen, or you just have your eyes on this? Yeah, them. Okay, you couldn't see the quotes, but you heard it. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I wanted you to see it. Here we go. So basically, this priest is saying to the character in Heliodorus Ethiopica, he's saying, look, Homer was an Egyptian. Uh, a few things point to it, but let me tell you, you're saying a few things point to it, but let me tell you the facts, right? He was an Egyptian. So it seems that there's a body of factual evidence growing around this time saying Homer was Egyptian. Homer was Egyptian. Homer was Egyptian. And he migrated to the Greek islands. Again, not surprising if this all took place in the 8th century, 9th century period where you have Kushites dominating that region with the Phoenicians, traveling back and forth, um, giving the Assyrians a run for their money. There are artifacts found of Kushites in the pay of the Assyrians, mercenaries in the court of the Assyrians. Okay, so not surprising, but these here this character in Heliodorus is Ethiopica is saying, look, that's what's up. He was Egyptian. Now, what's more important is really the reaction of the character, the fictional character. Okay, the fictional character says, when I consider Homer's verse, it is truly of Egyptian fashion, stuffed with all pleasure and delectation. He's saying it has a style. The Homeric works, epics, the epic poetry of it, it has a style that is Egyptian. Okay, everybody at the time can read Homer's Odyssey. Okay, so you can't just magic that up. That's something that other people would be able to say, yeah. I read. Did you see Elidorus is Ethiopic? I read it the other day. He made that point about how Homer's, how it reads like one of these Egyptian griots that we've come in contact with. Yeah. That tracks. Yeah, that makes sense. This is something that people at the time can verify. This is something that you're not just plucking out of your back end, okay? But you are putting it, you're couching it in fiction. But that's evidence couched in a fictional narrative that's making people at the time think this work isn't typically Greek. If you, I couldn't do it tonight, but if you go back to that entry of the Encyclopedia Britannica online, it talks about the origins of the artistic style, the iambic style of Homer, and how before him it hadn't really been seen in the Grecian islands. Okay, there's evidence that before him, it was that style, that meter was something that was done orally. but Homer brought it and codified it in the Odyssey and in the Iliad. Okay, they're not really sure where it comes from outside of Homer though. He's the first person that they think, right, set this on a map. Now, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Let's stop here and let me wrap up with something that will absolutely blow your mind. Let's go to let's go to I've been reading it, okay? I've been reading the Odyssey. And one of the first things that struck me, okay, for the people who've been saying, uh, oh, the blacks were never in this space. This is rubbish. Let's just look at that for a minute. Blacks were not known to the ancient Greeks. They were exotic. They were no, 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 no. Right. Let me see if you guys can see what I'm. Mm. Chad, let me know. Can you? Okay, cool, cool. This will blow your mind. First of all, on the island of Chios itself, they had a name for Zeus, and it was Zeus Ethiops. It was called. They had a particular appellation for Zeus, and it was Zeus Ethiops. Uh, you have to go to a very obscure work by a guy called Lycophron. Lycophron. Let me show you that. It in which he lists names that they knew Zeus by. Okay. Um, can you see what's on the screen? Can people see that? There we go. Right. I bet you didn't think we'd get to this. Here we go. Down there. But we have one, yea, beyond our hope, for gracious champion. We have this one God as a gracious champion. The god Drimnius, sorry, Prometheus, not Prometheus, Prometheus, Ethiops, Gerapsius, whatever. Okay, but one of those names is Ethiops for Zeus. Okay, this is everyone agrees that's what's going on there. They try to say this also could mean glowing face. Um, I'm not debating that, but it's interesting that we have Zeus known as Zeus Ethiops, but that's not any sort of a smoking gun for anything for the ubiquitous presence of black folk. That's nothing. That's nothing at all in the Hellenistic world. Okay. All right. Let's look at. Okay. Let me show you this. Chat. This is what's happening in the. Oh, what's that? Okay, cool. This is what's happening in the Ionian city states. This is what's happening um in that time and place. In the archaic period, the Ionian polis were among the cultural, intellectual, and political leaders of the Greek world. The region prospered economically due to contributions of immigrants, traders, and other social classes from at least what 750 BCE. What's happening at 750? Chat, do you remember what I said earlier? Please let me know. If you're paying attention, what happened around 750 BCE? What empire, what power, what polity is burgeoning around this time? Let me know in the chat. I'm not moving on until someone says who's reigning again. Is thank you, Taharka, the 25th dynasty. Again, we keep coming to that time period. Is it an accident? Is it an accident? At some point, even the Copers have to say thank you, Assyrians as well. But I'm talking about the Kushites, the 25th dynasty now, the Phoenicians, the black presenting Phoenicians, trading all over the place. Okay, that's the group of people that are dominating the world around 750 BCE or BC. Never use BCE. Okay, BC. They're trying to change everything up on us. That's who's reigning. Black kingdoms, black empires are ruling the Mediterranean. Okay, and this entry here tells us that lo and behold, Ionia, okay, started to prosper economically due to contributions of immigrants, traders, and other social classes from at least 750 BCE. They will change that in the future at some point. They'll see people working, assiduously away, trying to debunk them like myself, and they will change this. Make sure you download this article. They'll change it. They'll move it forward. They'll say 650 BC. They are literally that petty. Someone mark my words. Mark my words. Come back to this article in about 3 months' time. This won't be there. Parallel construction. That's when the corrupt cops, when they want to get you and they know they've got no evidence on you, they say you are guilty. Say someone is guilty. Okay. This is where they know you're guilty, but they don't know how to make it stick. So they go outside the legal framework, okay, to, I don't know, maybe plant something on you and whatever. Then they work backwards to say, um, using this thing, using this illegal strategy. So they kind of maybe they're not being given a warrant to do a search or to hack you or something like that. They will do it anyway, and then once they found the incriminating evidence, they'll then say, once they know for sure they've got incriminating evidence on you because they've used illegal methods, they'll then, because they don't want to have egg on their face, they'll then go and apply for the warrant order, or they'll find another backstory as to how they discovered this incriminating evidence on you. That's what it's parallel construction. They'll watch this, but someone somewhere will not be happy that people are connecting the dots about this, and 3 months time, this will be gone. This will be gone. It won't be 750 BCE again because people are thinking, oh, okay, that's strange. That tracks with that and that and that. Okay, anyway, right. The Ionian polities, the Ionian polis are developing right around 750 BCE. That's around the region, and that's around the time that this Odyssey, that people are telling this story around this period. In this area. Okay. Let me go on. Let's move on from that. You think that's interesting? You think that's interesting? Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Um, still there, guys. I'm still there. I'm lining this up. Okay, let's look at. Let's look at another region close to where all of this is happening. Blacks didn't exist in this space. Lupita could never have been black. Okay, that's interesting. Let's look at a place called the island of Lesbos, where we get the world famous term today. Um, this is a man called Pliny the Elder. Where is it? There we go. Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder says this. Okay, he says the most famous island is Lesbos. He's speaking about. I can't bother to go into the read all this other uh guff. Okay, he's saying he's talking about Lesbos. Let's have a quick look at where Lesbos is. Quick look at where Lesbos is. Um, again, let's be adults. Uh, let's be adults. Let's have a look. Let's not get carried away by that name. But it is where it is. It is the name that it's the island that lends its name to you know certain shenanigans, certain type of shenanigans. And the Greeks were all about this kind of activity. They were mixing it up in there. Oh my goodness. It doesn't even bear mentioning really. Let's keep it nice and clean. Oh, whatever. All right. I'm just gonna show I thought I had it lined up. Okay. Lesbos. Lesbos. Let's go to I need maps. There you go. This is Lesbos. Oh, I'm gone too far out. That's Kalkaios down there, and this is Lesbos. It's I think the third largest Greek isle, and I believe this is Turkey. Okay, belongs to I think it's Greek. Okay, that's Lesbos. Okay, listen to what Pliny the Elder says about Lesbos. The most famous island is Lesbos, 65 miles from Chios or Chios. It was formerly called Himerti, Lassia, Pelasgia, Aegira, Ethiop. Ethiop. Why would you call Lesbos, a Greek island, Ethiop? For the same reason that you find this. Stop sharing. I'll show you, man, this. For the very same reason that you find these. On the island of Lesbos, guys, these have been found. Get ready for this. Get ready for this. Get ready for this. Okay. Okay, guys. Quick. What would you call it? Roll call. I don't know what we call it, but quick. What do you think I'm about to show you? What do you think I'm about to use to back up this weird claim by Pliny the Elder saying that Lesbos also used to be known as Ethiops, used to be known as an Ethiopian island. It had a name, and another name for it was Ethiopia. You could say Little Ethiopia. Okay. What evidence am I about to show you? Get any guesses? Statue or painting? Still there, guys. A picture. Scissors. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you. Nope, not that one. Okay. No, no, it's not that. It's not that at all. Um, there we go. These coins are found all over the island of Lesbos. These coins are found all over the island of Lesbos, guys. Coins from the island of Lesbos, circa 500 to 550 BC. They're all over the place. This island was populated and was inhabited at one point in its history by black folk. This is what I'm saying, guys. When they don't know what to make of evidence, you don't see it. You don't see it. You have to go looking for yourself. These aren't slaves. You don't put slaves on your coins. You don't put slaves on your you don't I don't really understand that line of thinking. That's another coin from not from Lesbos, but from one of the Ionian Islands. So, what you make of that? What you make of that, chat? I need a detractor. I need somebody in the chat to come and say, look, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. Thank you, Kieran. He says support your local black content creator people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad someone's saying it. This takes work as well. This takes work. It takes time to actually go in. It takes a bit of doggedness, a bit of bloody mindedness to say, you guys are piling it on a bit too thick. You're piling it on a bit too thick, man. All of this, we was everything and you were nothing. It's just, it sounds like a hit dog holler. What's that black American um phraseology or phrase? It sounds like a hit dog hollering. Someone said, I'm not gonna say your name. I'm not gonna say your name. But the individual on the screen now says the coins got stepped on over hundreds of years, flattened the facial features. you know, crazier things have been said. Crazier things have been said. But it doesn't end there. There's I don't know if the coins are in museums anywhere. I don't know. I imagine they are, but they're in the basement. They will be in the basement. Um they'll be obscured somehow. Okay. Pliny the Elder says, very blasé, very matter of factly, very run of the mill way. He says, another word, another word for Lesbos, another name that Lesbos has been known as in past, where was Ethiopia. Little Ethiopia there in the Mediterranean. Now, why could that have been? Oh, you do a bit of digging and you find evidence, archaeological evidence that suggests that black people inhabited this region en masse at one point in time. But it doesn't end there. One more thing before we go. Well, one more thing before we go. Uh Sappho, a great Greek philosopher, female, female. You look into her, I haven't been able to line up the quotes, but you look into her, and the Greeks described her as small, as in short, black, and ugly. The ugly bit doesn't surprise me. They did that a lot. That is, you look into it constantly. The ugly thing comes up a lot. Um, what can you say? Man, are jealous. But they constantly call Sappho, this Greek Egyptian individual, small, black, from the island of Lesbos, from the island of Lesbos. Okay, but hey, when you go looking for, um, that's for another video. That's for another video. Okay, I don't really want to. I don't want to bog us down. Okay, let me show you what you find when you look for Sappho. This is what you find. Does that look short black? Does that look short and black? Hmm? Is that a short and black person? Any of these? Now you will find one representation that's interesting. This is on a Greek vase. It's on an amphorae. Okay. Now, what's interesting isn't the skin here because it's not meant to be in terms of skin texture and skin color. This isn't meant to be accurate. Okay, this is just it's it's the way these things are done. They you've got a black vase and you've got um women usually have white skin and men usually have black skin. But look closer at the features on this woman. No, 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 no. Go back. Look carefully at the features on this woman. Chat, tell me what you see. Chat, just tell me what you see. Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. People can't see. People can't see. Sorry. My bad. My bad. Sorry, guys. One sec. There we go. There's a good lass. Chat. Chat, just tell me what you see. What sticks out to you? Her hair and jaw looks black. Her hair and jaw looks black. They're very stylized. These are very typically stylized. Okay, very typically stylized. But guess what? Not in this case. They want if they're making a feature if they're making a feature stick out, it's because they want to make a feature stick out. It's because they want to make it stick out. Okay, it's because they want to show some kind of uh uniqueness. I feel like getting up the quotes for you about Sappho being a black woman, short black woman. I feel like getting the quotes out, but you're gonna have to take my word on it. Either that, actually, no, we don't. You don't take my word on stuff like this. Go and do your own research, please, please. Go and look up the quotes. Look for the quotes. Sappho description: short, black, ugly. It's said in more than one place in the classical texts, but because we live in the world we live in, where uh white people did everything and went everywhere, but black people stayed in Africa and waited for white people to come and make them slaves and then take them everywhere. Because we live in that kind of a world where that narrative pervades and reigns, this is what you get for Sappho. A complete. So we have people losing their minds because of some vague description. Okay, some vague description about Helen of Troy. Okay, this is what they've been doing for hundreds of years. This is what they've been doing for hundreds of years. Somebody described on an island that was once inhabited by black folk, that was once inhabited by probably most likely colonists from Egypt, most likely colonists from Ethiopia, from Kush. Okay, we have descriptions of an individual from such a place labeled as black, short, and this is what they've been drawing and showing to us. This is how you whitewash history in real time. This is how you make everything how you want it to be, and then turn the world upside down. Let's leave Sappho. That's Sappho. People in the chat saying Sappho. Asking me for the name. It's Sappho. Okay. I believe it's pronounced Sappho. Um, I believe it's pronounced Sappho. When you come to the Odyssey, right? Let's end here. There is something I want to. There is something I really, really want to go into, but chat. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I feel like I've dropped too many gems tonight for free. I feel like I've dropped too many gems tonight for free. Way too many gems for free. I might just wait. I might just wait for another time. There is proof. Why are the Greeks saying that, and the Romans are saying much later, years later, there is stylistically, thematically, they're saying this guy was Egyptian. Tradition says this guy was Egyptian. Uh, Stuff points to this guy being an Egyptian. Why are they saying this? Why are they saying this? Oh, do I drop it now? Do I drop it now? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And if he is, if it turns out that Homer either was himself from Africa or got his story from Africa, his stories from Africa, it's game over. It's game over. It is get Kieran. I might just take your word. I might just take your advice because you know what you've been. If I take anyone's advice, it's be you because you know you're not just supported. You've been very active in the chat. Thank you so much for your support, your financial support in the chat. You know what? I might just hold it, man. I might just hold it because this goes deep. This goes deeper. This goes deeper. Let me just finish on this because I need to finish on this. Okay. I'm reading the Odyssey. I'm I'm st- I'm thinking, right, I need to read this text if I'm gonna talk on it properly. If I'm gonna talk on it properly, I need to read this text. Okay. So I go reading this text. And right from the word go, the very first chapter, let me see if I got this up here. Someone's saying, someone's saying it was Omar. Where is my where is it? There we go. Okay, let's go to on page one. On page one. Let's see if I can share this. Okay, I hope you can see what's on screen here. Okay. On page one, it says Poseidon, however, has gone. This is a EV Ryu, a translation by EV Ryu, Rieu, of the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. Poseidon, however, was now gone on a visit to the distant Ethiopians in the most remote part of the world, half of whom live where the sun goes down and half where he rises. Da, 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 da. That's just page one. That's just page one. We're talking about the Ethiopians. Let's move on. So this idea that why is Poseidon even going to chill with the Ethiopians? Why? Why? What does that even mean? Why is Homer bothered to present the Ethiopians in this good light? Because he does it in the Iliad as well. In the Iliad, Zeus goes to feast with the blameless Ethiopians. In the Iliad, one of the top dogs that I didn't see one time in Brad Pitt's Troy, okay, was Memnon, the king of Ethiopia. Do you know what Memnon did to Achilles? Memnon, the king of Ethiopia, brought Achilles, who himself was related to the Trojans. Memnon was related to the. So, how is an African related to Trojans if the Trojans are lily white? These people don't know their history. They just LARP. And if they do, the ones that do know their history, the ones that do know the texts and the law and the mythos, they're lying by omission. They're deliberately lying by omission. That's why you can have someone on Piers Morgan. One of them was this professor, this white guy professor, but you look into him, he's a grifter too. All he does is he grifts for intellectuals. He's slightly a cut above your I don't know, your critical drinkers and your nerdrotics. Just a cut. He just has some letters after his name. That's all really. But he's a racist grifter like the rest of them. They either don't know and don't care to know, or they know and they lie by omission. Memnon, the king of Ethiopia, a massive feature in the Iliad. Go and look it up. He fights Achilles he's the only person that fights him that close, that gives him a run for his money that close. He's lauded as one of the greatest conquerors in law, in Greek law. I didn't see him once. I don't know. Chat, let me know. Did we see someone play Memnon? Did we see anyone play Memnon? Did we see anyone play Memnon? I didn't see anyone play Memnon in Troy. I didn't see it. Not once. So did we have any black people coming out and say, where's our history? Why didn't you do this? You didn't do this. No, we just, we moved along. We got with the game. We just went and watched a nice movie. We've been dealing with this for the longest. We've been dealing with it for the longest. Where I come from, there is a proverb, and it says, "Tí eṣinṣin bá ń jẹ olóńgbò, kò sẹ́ni tó máa ń rí sí nobody sees. Kò sẹ́ni tó ń ṣàkíyèsí ẹ̀. Nobody sees, nobody notices when the fly is irritating the cat. When the fly is buzzing around, nobody sees it. Ṣùgbọ́n tó olóńgbò bá gbẹ́ mọ́ ṣinṣin báyìí, gbogbo èèyàn lá ní kí ló dé? That's when the cat then says, the day the cat says, you know what, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this. And he pounces. He bites his time and he pounces on the fly. That's when everyone says, oh my goodness, did you see that wild beast? Do you see that? Oh my, do you see the ferocity of that cat? Oh my goodness. This is the same thing. It's an apt proverb. They've been lying on us for years, for centuries, writing us off history, writing us out of anything that matters, writing our lore, our mythos out of anything that matters. But the minute people start saying, hang on a minute, okay, no, there's more to this story, and start representing that story, that's when you get, oh, come on now. We need some historical accuracy here. We need some historical accuracy, damn it. Come on, Piers. This is unseemly. Greeks did not know any black people. There were no blacks in this time and space. A black woman playing Helen of Troy? Please, can we have some historical accuracy, please? Please. Oh, my days. I've got a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Darius, I want to say thank you for the super chat. He says, don't ever think that your work isn't appreciated. You are a beacon of light for the diaspora. Thank you so much, Darius, for your $100 super chat. I really, really, really appreciate that. Um, that's what's up. That's what's up. Nice to be appreciated there. Up in this place. So, where was I? Okay. We have yes, Macy Graham says there's this fantasy of a world where we don't exist. That's it. That's it. That's just it. And they get on their righteous pedestals and start to invect and say, this is wrong. Imagine people saying, Helen of Troy couldn't have been Lupita because Lupita was, Helen of Troy was a beautiful. What? Imagine. This is what Elon's going around saying. This is the time that we live in. So I'm reading the Odyssey. And I'm seeing the Ethiopians. Why is Poseidon going to jail with the Ethiopians? Why? What's up with that? That's interesting. Not far off that, I get to this on screen. Egyptius, an old lord. This is like chapter 2. This is at the council meeting. So Telemachus needs to he goes and he calls this council. He calls this council in Ithaca to say, look, guys, they're eating me out. They're eating my family out. They're graping my resources. Something has to be done. The first person that speaks is a man called Egyptius. An old lord bent with years and rich in wisdom was the first to speak. He's not described, but it doesn't have to be described. When this was written, you don't have to. What's said is said. What's known is known. What's understood is understood. You don't have to. Why is the guy called Egyptius in a council in the council of Ithaca? Go and look up whenever anyone's been eponymously called Egyptius. Egyptius in Greek law is the lord of the black-footed ones. Sorry, but Mo Salah is not black-footed. He's not black-footed. And please, let's not play this stupid game about it means melang cross means in that context means black, dark or tan foot. This is ridiculous now. This is ridiculous. It's parody. Everybody knows you walk up in anywhere where Africans dominate. We have some black. I'm looking at my feet right now. It's black and crusty. Maybe not crusty, but it is black AF. My people, it is black AF. This is what you would say. This is what we're saying. This is why sometimes I look at my feet after a hard day's work out in these debunking streets, and I think, damn, you got some black crust. That's me saying that. Now imagine an ancient Greek walking up in Egypt and seeing non-Arab, indigenous Africans in Egypt. What's he gonna say? He's not writing home about tan feet. That's not the correct context. That's not the correct translation of that. You wouldn't You're not translating Melas in that context as tanned or dark skinned or swarthy. He's saying to you, man, them niggas' feet are black. They just some black feet. That's what he's saying. Look up Egyptius, king of the black-footed ones. I could pull that up, but time is going. So time has really gone by. Time has really gone by. So Egyptius is like in the second chapter. Is in the second chapter of the Odyssey, and he's just the elder in the council at Ithaca. Okay, it's just an elder in the council. He doesn't. There's no need to describe him. It's a nod and a wink. People understand. Okay, okay. So let's go. I'm reading this, and in this scene, in this council, okay, you have this elder speak, and I'm thinking this is an African book. We're not just talking Odysseus might have been African. This is an African book. It reads like many a African tome I've read. It reads like black people. Look, okay. Um Egyptius, an old as soon as dawn appeared, fresh and rosy fingered, Odysseus' son got up from his bed, put on his clothes, blah blah blah. Um So he calls this council. The heralds cried their summons, and the people quickly gathered. When all had arrived and the assembly was complete, Telemachus himself set out for the meeting place, bronze spear in hand, escorted by 2 hunting dogs. Egyptius, an old lord, I've skipped ahead now, bent with years and rich in wisdom, was first to speak. His own soldier son Antiphus had sailed with godlike Odysseus in the big ships to Ilium, blah, 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 only to be killed by the savage Cyclops. Okay, let's keep going. He says, my fellow countrymen, listen to what I have to say. He gives some wise counsel here. Um, Not once since the good Odysseus sailed, blah, blah, blah. But I just want you to get this. There's talk of an omen showing up. Whilst they're speaking, later on, there's an omen, a bad omen. I think there's 2 eagles that fly ahead over the theater, and um and they think, oh, that's a bad omen. Why am I bringing all this up? You read this yourself. I can't bother to find it now. Okay, this is the online copy you can get. I've got the hard copy, but a lot of stuff. Shout out to the what's the group of folk called who put, they curate this stuff and they put it online. Anyway, shout out to them. Um, but you're seeing this and you're thinking, this is an African book. You got a gathering of elders. You've got the way they read everything as an omen. These are things that when in recent history, okay, maybe that doesn't mean it's an African book, but I can't help resonate with this book in an African way. As I said to you at the beginning of the stream, I am a Christian, but I still come from a tradition of where people call a council of elders. There's a big family discussion. There's a big family debate. There's a big town debate. There's still places in Nigeria today where they call a big gathering of the elders and they say, what we gonna talk about? How we gonna approach this issue? And they call the chiefs and they sit around on raffia mats, and the king sits on an elevated throne, and they all take turns to speak and about what we should do and about this. And should anything like a bird flying like vultures being seen flying and fighting each other right outside the compound overhead, should that be seen, people go up, be apoplectic with what the heck does that mean? You know, so white folk come in recent history and they label all of this as fetish, as stupid Negro superstition. The same white folk are reading books, are reading the Odyssey to each other. They're reading the Odyssey to their kids and talking about Zeus and Apollo. This book reads like what we do, even till today. Even till today. Now, I'm not saying that nobody else ever read omens and all good. But I'm just saying that you look at Africa and African traditions, we, Europe, the European space likes to laud how long it's kept things going on for in its own tradition, whereas the same has been going on for far longer in other places without anybody losing their proverbial crap. Writing about, established in 5 BC or whatever. We've just been doing this stuff. So when you come and you've lost your way, you've lost your tradition of gathering the elders, you've lost your tradition of looking at the night sky, or looking at seeing a sign in animals um interplay. You've lost all of that. We're still doing that. We still live like that. We still carry that tradition. Chat, do you get what I'm trying to say? Does Do you understand what I'm talking about here? So I'm reading this book and I'm like, this is an African book. This is an African book. I can't believe it. The more and more I read it, I'm thinking, this is an African book. One more thing. One more thing. And then let's have a look. Let's have a look. Later in this book, I've not reached it. I've not reached it. And this isn't even the bombshell I was gonna drop. This is now I watched the film The Odyssey. I don't understand what's his name, the fellow at the beginning. If you've seen the video, if you've seen the film, um, is it ASAP Rocky? Guys, look, I'm not really I'm telling you now, I'm an old guy, I'm an old geezer. I don't really follow these things like I used to. What's the guy who plays? If anyone's seen the Odyssey, who's the guy at the beginning? The black guy, um, who's um, who's kind of heralding and gathering the crowd. Who plays him? ASAP Rocky. What is it? What's his name? Chat, help me out, man. Travis Scott. Thank you. Tony Tones. Thank you. Travis Scott. Oh my goodness, he's only in it for about 5 seconds. A couple of times he shows up, but I'm sorry, I dig him in that role with the locks. He actually looks like the Apollo at Vey. Okay, let me show you. Chat, I think Nolan knows far more than he's letting on. Nolan's research went further than he let on. This is the Apollo at Vey. Chat. This is the Apollo of Vey, mates. They tried to rob him out there. They started some good work on his legs. They started some good works on his leg, some good work on his legs already. Look. Check the Apollo of Vey. Look at him. Look at him. That's what Travis Scott looks like. He's got these locks flowing down at the beginning. He just had, I don't know, there was something about the way he spoke, man. Gava. A face, he says. A face. He's calling the council at Ithaca, I think. And he just, I just, it was amazing. It was cool. It gave me chills because there was something griot like about what he was doing. There was something griot like. It felt like a griot. There he is. That's the Apollo at Vey. Okay. Okay. Right. So I'm watching this, but we don't really know. We don't really know who he's meant to be. But there is a herald in the Odyssey, and he's a companion of what's his face? Odysseus. Okay, the reason we're all here is a companion of Odysseus, and this is how he's described. Now, yeah, I'm gonna have to go into this quickly. Where's my Where's my Odysseus? What's up? Yeah, here we go. Eurybates was his name, and Odysseus thought more of him than anyone else in his company, for the squire saw eye to eye with his leader. Okay, this is his description. I'll tell you what he looked like too. He was round in the shoulders and had a dark complexion and curly hair. Now, tell me, guys. First of all, why is a Greek person saying, "Oh yeah, my friend was dark and had curly hair"? If all we're talking about this would be like Thor, okay? In the character of Thor, say Thor was, this demigod, whatever he was in Norse mythology. This would be like Thor saying to a mortal or his wife or somebody in a Norse text saying, "I'll tell you what my friend looked like. He was blonde and blue-eyed." Huh? That's like everybody. What? Sorry, God of Thunder, whatever you are. Here's a few slaps to wake you up. Like, can you can you give me a bit more detail? This is like that. Chat, do you understand what I'm trying to say? That translation is so disingenuous. It is so disingenuous. The base meaning, the base meaning for the word used there in the original Greek was black. I'm about to prove it to you. The base meaning for the word used there was black. Let's first look at the word for hair that was used. I've got it up here. Let's go. Let us go. Uloi, from this word, uloknanos or something. All right. With crisp, curling hair. Let's look at the word from which it's derived. This is from Liddell and Scott's uh Greek and Latin dictionary. It's free. You can get it. You can add it to your you can make it an add-on to Mozilla. Right. Okay, so I go to this. I reach for this now instinctively. It's a very good, useful translation tool. The word there for hair is ulos or uloi. It's where we get the word uloktrikes. It's where we get the word woolly. Okay, uloi, woolly of thick, fleecy wool, crisp, close curling hair. Can you see this, chat? Well, we're not finished. Of the crisp, woolly hair of the Negro. Of plants, twisted, twined, curly, crinkled. So if the translator was to be accurate, he wouldn't use the vague curly. He would use the more distinct kinky is what he would use. He would use the word close curling. It's not just curly hair. Greeks have curly hair. Dravidian men have curly hair. He's saying close curling, kinky hair is the translation there. This is what they do. They play fast and loose with translation. Now that you've seen that, let's go to the word that's changed into dark skinned. Let's see if I can find that for you. Wow, go on. Yeah. Come in. Come in. Right, chat, I'm still here. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm on the wrong page. Right. This is the part. This is the passage of the Odyssey. Let me know if you can see that. I think you can see that. Um, they are so disingenuous, chat. They've been doing this for the longest of time. This is the passage. It's all Greek. I'm not a reader of Greek. I can just about make out some letters and you know. But right, the word is here we go. I know it by now because I'm always dealing with it. That's the M, that's the E, that's the L, that's the A, that's the N, melano something, melanocrus. Okay, let's take that word. If you take that, if you make the mistake of translating this whole passage, okay, it's built into the AI now. It's built into the Google AI as well. What it will give you is this. Let me show you. Paste. And I, the coppersmith, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Get down here. Round in appearance, dark skin, well kept, Eurobates. Okay. Dark skin is built into the AI. Take all that away. This is what I do. Take it all away. We want the word on its own, isolated, without any built in bias. This is the word for ulokanos. This is the word that was translated. It doesn't even figure in the translation. Fair skinned is what it's saying there. That you have to get things on their own, right? Chat, can you see that? Chat, chat. Melanocrus. It's where melanin comes from. Thank you, Macy. Chat, do you see what's on the screen? Let me know if you see what's on the screen. I'm not making this stuff up. This is the thing. We're not making this stuff up. And we have reason to be angry. It's not enough that you did what you did to us over the last 200 years, 200, 300 years. Now you've got to, now you also going to take heritage away from us. Now you're also going to take our presence in the past away from us, our aura. This do you see why this? That's Eurybates. That's so. This is he's Odysseus, his herald, and Odysseus loves the guy, and he's described as a black man with close curling hair. Now, does Homer have to say, "Oh, by the way, he's Ethiops"? No, he doesn't. He doesn't, because we're all grown up here. Black folk are here. Black folk, we got our legends, we got our myths, we got all of this from black folk. Half of our gods, if not all of them, are adaptations of the Egyptians' gods. And the Egyptians tell you that they got their gods from the Ethiopians, from the south. These people, they've been doing this, and they feed off this fake air of authority that they have. Enough is enough. I tell you, people, I used to be kind of quiet about this. I used to not tell people I did this on the side. I used to be quiet. Oh yeah, I'm a YouTuber, because I didn't want them to think. I didn't want them to go on a channel and you're that. I just didn't want them to feel like some kind of way. But I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. It's high time people knew. It's high time people knew. So if you were to be honest to this text, if you were to be truthful to this text, okay, and how it describes one of Odysseus's closest companions, you're getting a black guy. You're finding a black guy somewhere to play, if not Odysseus, because we could get to that. We could get into that, but let's leave him something. Let's leave him something. Let's leave him something to wrap themselves, keep themselves warm at night with. Let's leave him Odysseus. If you were to cast properly, Mister, be faithful to the text. Odysseus is one of Odysseus's closest friends. Is a black guy, and he's a herald. Now that makes sense. Why does a herald? Why does he being a herald make sense? Does anyone know? Anyway, I don't know if Travis Scott is meant to be playing that. I don't think so because we don't see him in any scenes with Odysseus, and Eurybates isn't actually mentioned at all. I don't think, but Travis Scott gives that herald that griot style. He gives that griot vibe thing, and why am I saying that? Because that's a tradition that even the Greeks admit was us. The Greeks admit, look up what they were saying about Aesop, Aesop's fables. They say the Aesopian tradition is from Africa, a place they also called Libya. Okay, they called Libya, particularly northern Africa. Sorry, they called Africa, particularly northern Africa, Libya. That was another name that they had for Africa. People think of Libya, the modern day country. No, they meant the whole of the whole. A lot of time they just use it as a throwaway name for Africa. Yeah, Ethiopia was further deeper into Africa. If you want to be, if you want to be, you know, if you want to be specific. So it's this guys. Can you kick out Eatus, whatever his name is? Just kick him out. I think he's trolling. I've seen him all. Please, someone kick him out. He's making me lose my train of thought. I've been watching him for a while and I've given him benefit of the doubt. But yeah, okay, real funny, real funny, real funny. Someone kick him out, please, or I'll do it. Um, so this is what we're talking about. You would have to find somebody black presenting to play this, and then then what? Then what are people saying? Because you're trolling. Your name is bad enough, okay, but explain yourself. What do you mean? What do you mean by this? I might be able to save a hole with this knowledge. What does that even mean? Huh? What does that mean? Explain it. If you can't explain it, you're gone. 60 seconds. Go on. What are you talking about? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Off you go. This guy a muppet, man. Right. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So there's one more thing. There is one more thing. I really wish I could go into it. You're gonna have to wait. It's been over 3 hours, well over 3 hours. And the main thing. Anyway, look, fam, I've absolutely enjoyed this. I've had a blast. I'm gonna finish the Odyssey, and I'm sure there's more gems in there. I'm sure there's more gems in there. Okay, but for now, I'm gonna call it a day. The gems I do dig out in the Odyssey, I will bring to this table. I will not I will not hold out on you folk. Okay. But there is one more nail in the coffin. Keep an eye out. Okay, keep an eye out in the days ahead. It's gonna be coming out in the form of a video. These people don't know anything, and if they do know, they're lying. They're deliberately lying. Deliberately, just out of some visceral hatred. They're just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what we ever did to them. I just don't get it. I don't get it. All in all, it would not have been surprising. It would not have been surprising. It would not. Do you know what? Let me end it here. Let me end it here. Oh. Ah, nah, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna hold that back as well. We're gonna hold that back as well. Chap, let me see the ones. Let me see the ones. Let the ones fly. Let the ones fly. Um, keep an eye out. Video coming out this week on this topic. It will tie everything together. Um, and then we'll see. Then we'll see. I hope you guys can help me make that video go viral. I hope you can set your watches to it. But coming out next week. I think I'll work hard try and get out next week. Um, but yeah, man, they just lie on our name. They just lie on our names. Um, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Macy Graham. Thank you, Bio. Um, thank you, Afri Spora Films. Um, guys, it's been wonderful. And thank you everyone who's supported us with the super chats. It's been wonderful. Thank you, and it's been I'm really I'm blessed by your contributions. All right, guys, from Kush to Compton, you know what it is. It's been your boy Trill Black. Peace.